Colorado is a land of towering peaks, endless forests, and trails that wind through breathtaking wilderness. Hikers come here to find peace, adventure, and beauty. But what many don't expect is the presence of something else, something older, something watching. Some trails hold more than wildlife and wildflowers. They hold whispers, footsteps in the dark, and echoes of lives long gone. Tonight, we retaken you deep into the shadows of the Rockies to uncover the 25 most haunted hikes in Colorado. From ghost towns abandoned to time, to mountain passes where miners met grisly fates, to trails where strange lights flicker and unseen hands brush against your skin. These hikes promise not just scenery, but shivers. So lace up your boots, but tread carefully, because on these trails, you may not be hiking alone. St. Mary's Glacier, perched high above Idaho Springs, is a winter wonderland that draws hikers and climbers from across Colorado. Its icy slopes and sparkling snowfields offer breathtaking views, but beneath the beauty lies a chilling history. The trail leading to the glacier has seen its fair share of accidents, sudden avalanches, and lost climbers. Over the years, stories have emerged of hikers encountering strange phenomena that suggest the mountain remembers those who never returned. Visitors often report seeing shadowy figures on the glacier's slopes. At first, they may appear to be other climbers navigating the snow, but upon approach, the figures vanish into the swirling mist, leaving no trace. Some say these apparitions are the spirits of mountaineers who perished in sudden snowslides, trapped forever in the icy expanse they once sought to conquer. The ghostly shapes seem aware of the living, often moving just beyond reach, disappearing as if refusing to be followed, yet somehow still observing those who dare to traverse the glacier. The wind along St. Mary's Glacier carries more than just a chill of high-altitude air. Many hikers describe faint cries and murmurs that ride on the gusts, soft enough to be mistaken for echoes, yet hauntingly distinct. Some claim to hear calls for help or the panicked voices of those lost to the snow. These sounds seem to emanate from the ice itself, rising from beneath the surface or drifting across the slopes in impossible patterns. Hikers report feeling watched, a sense that the frozen terrain holds memories and spirits that linger long after tragedy has struck. Footprints in the snow contribute to the glacier's eerie reputation. Adventurers often find freshly disturbed snow that seems to form a path ahead of them. At first, it might appear that someone else is on the trail, but the footprints often lead to no one, stopping abruptly in the middle of the snowfield. It is as though the person who made them simply vanished into the icy expanse. Witnessing this phenomenon can be unnerving, and many hikers describe a sudden chill or a shiver running down their spine, as though the mountain itself is aware of their presence. The glacier's environment amplifies the sense of unease. Its icy cliffs, crevasses, and constantly shifting snowfields create disorienting landscapes that make it difficult to judge distance or direction. Mist and fog roll in suddenly, obscuring paths and hiding shapes that may or may not be real. Hikers often feel a presence nearby, just beyond sight, accompanied by the faint crunch of snow under phantom footsteps. The mountain seems alive, breathing with the memories of those who have fallen. And for some, it is impossible to ignore the sensation that the past is watching. Several climbers recount encounters with ghostly figures appearing along the ridge lines at dawn or dusk. These apparitions often resemble ordinary mountaineers, dressed in outdated climbing gear or simple clothing from decades past. Their movements are deliberate, careful, yet fleeting. Some hikers have tried calling out to these figures, only to hear silence or a sudden rush of wind in response. Photographs taken on the glacier occasionally reveal vague shapes in the mist, faint silhouettes that disappear when viewed a second time, reinforcing the idea that St. Mary's Glacier is a place where the past and present coexist. Despite its dangers and spectral reputation, hikers continue to be drawn to St. Mary's Glacier. The allure of its icy beauty is undeniable, and the stories of restless spirits add a mysterious thrill to the climb. Many visitors leave offerings of small items, such as flags or personal tokens, on the slopes as gestures of respect for those who perished. Others simply tread lightly, mindful of the mountain's history and the lingering presence that seems to guard it. The glacier is more than a trail or a frozen expanse. It is a repository of memory, where the living and the dead intersect. Every gust of wind, every shadow in the mist, and every sudden stop of footprints in the snow serves as a reminder of lives lost to the unforgiving terrain. St. Mary's Glacier is beautiful, exhilarating, and haunting, a place where nature's majesty and the echoes of tragedy coexist in perfect, chilling harmony. For those who hike its slopes, the experience is unforgettable. The glacier offers more than scenic vistas. It offers a brush with the past, a glimpse of spirits lingering where life and death once collided. Walking across the ice, feeling the crunch beneath your boots, and catching a glimpse of something that cannot be explained leaves a lasting impression, a silent, spectral reminder that the mountain never forgets, and neither do the spirits it holds. The allure of St. Mary's Glacier is not simply in its frozen beauty, but in the stories etched into the ice, the whispers carried by the wind, and the fleeting figures that vanish into the mist. For every hiker who reaches its summit, there is a memory of the lost, an encounter that lingers in the mind long after leaving the slopes. The glacier is alive with history, mystery, and the restless spirits of those who were never meant to leave. Hanging Lake Trail, winding through the steep walls of Glenwood Canyon, is celebrated for its stunning turquoise waters, cascading waterfalls, and the lush greenery that seems almost otherworldly. By day, the trail welcomes hikers of all kinds, drawn by the promise of crystal-clear waters and the vibrant beauty of the canyon. But as the sun dips lower and shadows stretch across the trail, a different presence emerges, one that whispers sorrow into the breeze and leaves a lingering chill on those who dare to venture too close to the water's edge. Local legend tells of a native woman, heartbroken and grief-stricken, who leaped from the cliffs above the lake centuries ago. Her sorrow, intense and unyielding, tethered her spirit to the shimmering waters below, forever binding her to the place of her despair. Over the years, hikers and visitors have reported strange encounters, often describing the same pale figure hovering near the falls. Her hair flows like riverweed, moving as if underwater even when the air is still, and her eyes, hollow yet hauntingly alive, seem to search endlessly for something lost to time. Those who glimpse her often feel an inexplicable heaviness in their chests, as if the lake itself mourns along with her. Even during the brightest hours, there is a sense that Hanging Lake is not entirely tranquil. Some hikers notice small disturbances in the water ripples where no breeze blows, a soft splash that seems to come from nowhere, or a faint mist rising above the surface when the air is perfectly still. Photographs taken along the trail occasionally reveal figures or shapes in the mist, impossible to see with the naked eye. Many believe these are glimpses of the grieving woman, reaching out across time to anyone who will acknowledge her pain. At night, the trail becomes far more unnerving. Those brave enough to hike in the fading light speak of sudden sounds echoing through the canyon walls, soft laughter, splashes in the lake, and whispers that drift along the water's edge. The sounds are never constant, but appear unpredictably, rising and falling with the wind. Hikers often report the sensation of being watched, a prickling awareness that they are not alone, even when the trail is otherwise empty. In the quiet darkness, the lake seems to pulse with life, and every reflection on its surface feels like the eyes of another world observing the living. The cliffs themselves hold an eerie presence. When hikers pause near the rock walls that cradle the lake, some claim to hear faint sobbing echoing from above, or see shadows flit across the stone faces where no person could be standing. Even the trees along the trail seem to lean in, as if listening, their branches brushing in ways that suggest a restless awareness. Many visitors have felt an unexplained pull toward the water, a subtle yet persistent urge to approach the edge of the lake, as if the spirit is calling them closer, inviting them to share in her sorrow. Some of the most unsettling encounters are not visual, but sensory. Hikers report sudden drops in temperature along the trail, cold enough to seep into the bones, yet the sun may still shine brightly overhead. Others describe a faint, salty scent in the air, like tears carried on the wind, mingling with the clean scent of pine and wet stone. The combination of visual beauty and intangible menace creates an almost hypnotic atmosphere Visitors are entranced by the lake, yet their instincts warn them of danger unseen. Stories passed down through local hikers suggest that the woman-esque grief can sometimes manifest in more tangible ways. Backpacks left unattended may be mysteriously shifted. Small stones or leaves appear in paths where they were not before, and some report the faint impression of fingers brushing against their arms or shoulders. It is as though the spirit is reaching out, not with malice, but with a desperate need to be noticed, to share the endless weight of her sorrow with those who enter her domain. Even the water of Hanging Lake seems alive with memory. Anglers and swimmers, though officially prohibited, have spoken of strange sensations beneath the surface, currents that pull in unnatural directions, sudden cold spots that bite more sharply than the mountain chill, and the unmistakable feeling of something passing beneath their feet, unseen. It is as if the lake itself remembers the woman who fell into its embrace, carrying fragments of her spirit along every ripple. Visitors who have spent time along the trail often recount an emotional heaviness that lingers long after they leave. The beauty of Hanging Lake is undeniable, yet many describe a profound sense of melancholy, a silent story embedded in the landscape. The turquoise waters, so vibrant by day, take on an almost liquid melancholy in the fading light, reflecting the grief of a woman who never truly left. Hikers sometimes leave offerings, small stones, flowers, or notes, placing them carefully along the trail or near the lake's edge, as if acknowledging the presence that has watched over them. The combination of natural splendor and spectral presence makes Hanging Lake a place of paradox. It is at once breathtaking and unsettling, serene and sorrowful, a reminder that beauty does not always equate to peace. For those who hike the trail with awareness, there is a chance to witness the quiet persistence of a grief that transcends time, to feel the weight of a story older than the canyon itself. Hanging Lake Trail remains one of Colorado's most treasured hikes, yet it is also among the most haunted. The turquoise waters, cascading waterfalls, a presence tethered to tragedy and loss. Those who tread its paths at dawn or dusk may find themselves sharing the trail with the pale figure of the grieving woman, her hair trailing like riverweed, her eyes searching endlessly. Her story, etched into the very air of Glenwood Canyon, reminds all who enter that some spirits do not rest, and some sorrows never fade. For hikers, Hanging Lake is a journey not just through nature, but through the echoes of a past that refuses to be forgotten. Every splash, every whisper, every ripple in the water may be a reminder that beauty and grief coexist, intertwined in a hauntingly perfect harmony. And for those who truly listen, a silent tale carried on the wind, beneath the cliffs, and within the turquoise waters that shimmer so enticingly, so hauntingly, beneath the Colorado sky. Kenosha Pass, nestled in the heart of Park County, is renowned for its breathtaking views, particularly in autumn, when the aspen groves blaze with gold and amber. By day, hikers and photographers marvel at the shimmering leaves, the crisp mountain air, and the panoramic vistas stretching across the Rockies. Families picnic, campers set up tents, and travelers take in the quiet majesty of nature. Yet, beneath this serene beauty lies a history of hardship and loss, one that some claim has left an imprint on the landscape, a restless energy that emerges after the sun dips below the horizon. Local legend tells of settlers who braved the harsh winters of the Colorado Rockies, attempting to carve a life from the rugged terrain. Some vanished without a trace, lost to blizzards, starvation, or treacherous terrain, their stories fading into whispers of history. Today, those same settlers are said to linger along Kenosha Pass, their spirits restless, eternally wandering the groves where life and death were once inseparable. Campers and late-day hikers frequently report unsettling experiences: sudden chills in the air, the rustle of leaves with no breeze, and the unmistakable sounds of hooves clattering across the forest floor. The most commonly reported phenomena are the ghostly riders, spectral figures appearing in the twilight or deep shadows of the aspen groves. Witnesses describe them as men and women in period clothing, sometimes mounted on horses, their forms indistinct but undeniably human. The riders seem to emerge from nowhere, galloping swiftly along paths that no longer exist, their movement unnaturally silent except for the faint echo of hooves. Some hikers have reported catching glimpses of lanterns swaying in the distance, carried by figures whose faces remain obscured, their presence both captivating and terrifying. The sounds accompanying these apparitions are often more disquieting than the figures themselves. Travelers have recounted the clinking of harnesses, the creak of saddles, and the jingling of tack, each sound sharp against the stillness of the forest. Sometimes voices ride the wind, softly murmured conversations, calls for help, or shouts that vanish almost as soon as they are heard. Even experienced campers, accustomed to the noises of the wilderness, have reported feeling watched, a persistent sense of unseen eyes following them through the groves. At night, the atmosphere of Kenosha Pass changes dramatically. Campfires, usually a source of warmth and comfort, can feel insufficient against the cold grip of the unseen. Shadows stretch unnaturally under the flickering flames, and the wind carries a chorus of whispers that seem to circle the campsites. Some report seeing fleeting forms darting between trees, only to disappear when approached. Others have awoken in the middle of the night to the sound of galloping hooves across the slope. A phantom herd racing through the darkness as though reliving a final, tragic journey. Kenosha Pass also seems to hold physical traces of these spectral visitors. Horseshoes have been found embedded in the soil, their age and origin inexplicable. Occasionally, campers discover footprints in snow or mud that vanish as mysteriously as they appear. Even seasoned hikers note a disorienting quality to the trails after dusk, as if the paths themselves have shifted, leading them toward areas they did not intend to explore. The land seems alive with memory, a lingering resonance of the lives that once struggled and sometimes perished here. Some of the more harrowing accounts come from those who have spent extended periods at the pass. A group of backpackers reported seeing an entire spectral procession at twilight. Riders in tattered coats, some on horseback, some walking beside the animals, moving silently along a ridge. The witnesses described feeling an overwhelming sorrow, a collective grief emanating from the figures that seemed almost tangible. One camper claimed she felt a phantom hand brush her shoulder as she watched the procession fade into the forest, leaving her breathless and trembling. Even the natural environment seems to echo these spectral phenomena. The groves of aspens, with their quivering leaves, can appear to move unnaturally, reflecting shapes and shadows that suggest more than mere wind. Streams may carry faint sounds of voices or the faint jingle of metal. The mountain air sometimes holds sudden, inexplicable drops in temperature, chilling even the warmest campers to the bone. Many hikers report a creeping sense that the forest itself is alive with memory, that the past and present coexist here in a way that is both beautiful and terrifying. Those who frequent Kenosha Pass often speak of a duality. The trail is breathtaking by day, a place of serenity and color, yet haunted by loss and tragedy once darkness falls. The presence of ghostly settlers and their spectral horses serves as a reminder of the hardships endured in the region, of lives cut short by nature's unforgiving hand. The pass is not a place of malevolence, but of lingering memory, a site where the past refuses to be forgotten and where sorrow, courage, and endurance remain etched into the landscape. Visitors who respect the trail, who tread carefully and quietly, often report fewer encounters, though the sense of watchfulness never fully fades. Those who venture carelessly or linger after dark are more likely to witness the apparitions, to hear the hoofbeats echoing through the night, or to feel the brush of unseen hands. For many, Kenosha Pass is a beautiful hike with a haunting aftertaste. For others, it is a reminder that history has not entirely released the souls of those who struggled here. Kenosha Pass remains a testament to both natural beauty and spectral memory. Its golden aspen groves draw hikers by day, but its shadows hold stories of endurance, loss, and restless spirits. The galloping riders, the whispered voices, the clinking harnesses serve as reminders that the mountain remembers. Every visitor who steps onto the trail becomes part of that memory, whether they realize it or not. Those who hike Kenosha Pass at twilight or under the cloak of night leave with a lingering sense that the past is still very much alive, echoing through the trees, across the slopes, and in the restless wind that carries the voices of the long-gone settlers who never left. Cripple Creek, nestled in the rugged terrain of Teller County, is a town frozen in time, its gold rush past etched into every abandoned building, mine shaft, and winding trail, while the town itself draws tourists eager for ghost stories, history, and the allure of a bygone era. The surrounding trails carry a spectral weight all their own. Hikers who venture beyond the remnants of the town report encounters that defy explanation, glimpses of figures in tattered clothing, sudden chills along the spine, and sounds that echo across the hills long after the wind has fallen silent. The trails surrounding Cripple Creek follow the paths once traversed by miners seeking fortune in the late 1800s. These men risked everything for gold, working day and night in mines prone to collapse, with little regard for their own safety. It is said that many perished here, some trapped underground, some falling victim to the treacherous terrain, their spirits bound to the land by unfinished business and untimely deaths, continue to wander the trails, replaying their daily struggles for anyone who dares to walk where they once walked. Visitors often report seeing spectral miners, figures dressed in threadbare shirts, worn trousers, and hats coated with dust. These apparitions carry lanterns that flicker dimly, illuminating the surrounding forest with an unearthly glow. The light seems to move independently, appearing around corners or between trees before vanishing into the shadows. Hikers describe feeling compelled to follow these ghostly lanterns, drawn as though by instinct toward the lost men's restless energy, only to find the figures disappearing without a trace when approached. The sounds along the Cripple Creek trails add to the haunting atmosphere. Many hikers recount the faint clang of pickaxes striking rock, echoing across valleys that have long been silent, chilling the blood and leaving listeners frozen in place. Some swear they have heard whispers, fragmented words of caution or despair that seem to float just beyond understanding, carried by a wind that appears to have no source. These auditory phenomena are so vivid that even experienced outdoorsmen, familiar with wildlife and the creaking of forest branches, admit they cannot explain the origin. Nighttime hikes bring an entirely different dimension to the trails. The fading light casts long, distorted shadows between the rocks and trees, and the temperature often drops abruptly, as if the hills themselves exhale a cold breath. Lanterns of the living hikers flicker or dim inexplicably, while unseen footsteps follow along ridges or behind tree lines. Those who have ventured after dark speak of moments when the earth seems to shift beneath their feet, and the familiar paths transform into confusing, winding corridors, as though the terrain itself is reshaping to accommodate spectral activity. Even the flora and fauna of the area seem to participate in the haunting. Trees creak and groan in ways that suggest more than simple wind, and small rocks or debris appear to tumble down slopes without natural cause. Campers report their belongings moving slightly overnight, tents flapping when there is no wind, or lanterns swinging as if nudged by unseen hands. The environment itself seems attuned to the memories of the miners, echoing the peril and labor of those who died along these trails. One of the most chilling aspects of the Cripple Creek trails is the sense of time distortion. Hikers sometimes lose track of minutes or even hours, experiencing sudden fatigue or disorientation as they follow the twists and turns. Many feel as though they are intruding upon a world that exists alongside their own, a ghostly reflection of the gold rush era, where miners toil ceaselessly, unaware of the century that has passed. Photographs taken along the trail occasionally reveal vague shapes, lights, or shadows that were invisible to the naked eye, reinforcing the idea that these are not figments of imagination, but lingering presences from the past. Local folklore also tells of miners appearing near abandoned mine entrances, their lanterns bobbing and swinging in the dark. Hikers have reported seeing figures disappearing into these shafts or hearing the scrape of rock as if a collapse had just occurred. The echoes of suffering and labor seem embedded into the very hillsides, turning every step into a confrontation with history that refuses to rest quietly. Even during the day, when sunlight bathes the trails, there is a heaviness in the air, a sense of being watched by unseen eyes. or the subtle vibration of energy left behind by those who gave their lives here. Despite the fear that some hikers experience, many feel a strange fascination with the Cripple Creek trails. There is an undeniable allure to walking the paths of men who once chased dreams in the unforgiving Colorado wilderness, to witness the places where history and the supernatural intertwine. Some leave offerings along the trail, coins, trinkets, or small notes paying respect to the miners whose energy lingers, while others simply tread quietly, hoping to avoid disturbing the ghost's eternal labor. The trails around Cripple Creek are more than just paths through the wilderness. They are corridors through time, where the past is present and the lost miners continue their work. Every flicker of a lantern, every echo of a pickaxe, every fleeting figure glimpsed through the trees serves as a reminder that the gold rush left more than abandoned buildings and empty shafts. It left memories, regrets, and spirits that refuse to be forgotten. Hiking the Cripple Creek trails is a journey not just through Teller County's rugged terrain, but through a spectral landscape alive with the echoes of the past. The beauty of the area, with its steep hills and open vistas, is undeniable, but the haunted energy of the trails transforms each outing into an experience that is both awe-inspiring and unnerving. For those who truly listen and watch, the whispers of the miners, the flickering lanterns, and the faint clang of pickaxes are a constant reminder that some souls never leave, and some stories are etched permanently into the land. Cripple Creek's trails stand as a testament to the enduring presence of the past, a place where hikers may feel history brushing against them in the form of ghostly miners, spectral lanterns, and the ceaseless echoes of labor and loss. To step onto these paths is to step into a world where the gold rush never truly ended, and the spirits of those who perished continue to roam, guiding, warning, and reminding all who venture here that some trails are never truly empty. Gold Camp Road, winding its way through the pine-covered hills outside Colorado Springs, is famous for its scenic views and historic railway tunnels, remnants of a bygone era of steam engines and gold transport. By day, the road is a photographer's dream. Sun-dappled forests, dramatic mountain vistas, and the rusted arches of abandoned tunnels that once carried trains through the rugged terrain. But after dusk, Gold Camp Road transforms from a picturesque trail into one of Colorado's most notorious haunted locations, drawing thrill-seekers and paranormal enthusiasts alike. The tunnels, silent and dark, seem to breathe with an energy that is both unsettling and unshakable, as if the earth itself remembers tragedies long past. Local lore tells of a tunnel collapse during the early 1900s that trapped and claimed the lives of several children playing near the railway. While the exact details are murky, the story has persisted for over a century, giving rise to countless eyewitness accounts and chilling tales. Hikers, bikers, and curious explorers report an eerie presence long after the sun has set, voices echoing down the tunnels where no one walks, cold drafts that seem to originate from nowhere, and faint giggles that fade as soon as they are heard. Many claim that the children's spirits, unable to leave the tunnels, continue to play and wander, their energy lingering in the shadows. Visitors frequently describe seeing ghostly handprints appear on dusty car windows or walls inside the tunnels. These prints are small, childlike, and impossible to erase completely, as if the hands pressing against them are still searching for someone to acknowledge their presence. Some who have ventured through the tunnels at night report feeling tiny hands brush against their own, or a sudden tug on clothing, as if invisible children are following them. The sensation is unsettling, often leaving explorers frozen in place, their hearts pounding in sync with the echoes around them. Shadows are another common phenomenon along Gold Camp Road. Hikers and cyclists have seen fleeting shapes dart across tunnel walls, sometimes accompanied by soft whispers or laughter. These shadows rarely reveal a clear form, instead appearing as dark blurs moving with unnatural speed and fluidity. Those who look directly at them often feel a sudden chill, an oppressive weight that seems to press down from the ceiling or the surrounding walls. Even in the brightest daylight, some swear the tunnels harbor dark corners where sunlight refuses to penetrate, hiding something ancient and unseen. The tunnels themselves seem to amplify these supernatural occurrences. The stone and brick construction, once designed to carry the roar of passing trains, now reverberates with the whispers, footsteps, and laughter of unseen occupants. Sound travels in strange ways along the curved walls, making it difficult to pinpoint the origin of noises. Footsteps echo when the road is empty, distant voices call from angles that make no sense, and soft giggles emerge from the darkness, only to vanish without warning. Hikers report that their own movements seem magnified, their breathing and heartbeats echoing back at them, mingling with sounds they cannot explain. Some visitors have gone further than the tunnels themselves, exploring the surrounding hills and abandoned train paths. Here, the feeling of being watched intensifies, and the energy of the site becomes almost tangible. Objects left behind, rocks, bottles, and even rusted equipments sometimes shift or tumble without human interference. Campers along Gold Camp Road have reported lanterns swinging as though touched by invisible hands, tents flapping in calm air, and shadows flitting past trees lining the trail. Many hikers feel a constant, almost oppressive presence that follows them for miles beyond the tunnel entrances. The psychological impact of the haunted tunnels is as significant as the reported apparitions. Some visitors describe dizziness, nausea, or a sudden sense of disorientation while walking through the dark passages. Compasses and GPS devices occasionally malfunction in the tunnels, adding to the sense of otherworldliness. Those who enter alone often feel a deep, instinctive fear, as if the air itself warns them to turn back. Groups tend to experience the phenomena collectively. Voices are heard by multiple people. Shadows are observed by more than one set of eyes, suggesting that the energy is real, not simply a trick of imagination. Photographs taken along Gold Camp Road often capture anomalies invisible to the naked eye. Small, misty figures standing near tunnel entrances, or orbs of light hovering in the air. Some images show faint silhouettes in the distance, blurry and indistinct, yet unmistakably human in shape. Paranormal investigators have occasionally explored the tunnels, recording electronic voice phenomena, EVP temperature drops, and electromagnetic anomalies, all of which reinforce the location's reputation as a hotspot for ghostly activity. Despite the fear that surrounds the tunnels, there is a strange allure. People are drawn to Gold Camp Road, not just for its beauty, but for the stories that linger in the shadows. There is a sense that by walking through the tunnels, one is participating in a history frozen in tragedy, acknowledging the children who vanished, the accidents that scarred the rails, and the echoes of lives cut short. The haunted energy does not seek to harm, but to be witnessed, as though the spirits themselves desire recognition, if only for a fleeting moment. Gold Camp Road remains one of Colorado's most enigmatic and haunting trails. By day, it offers breathtaking views, the whisper of the wind through the pines, and the timeless beauty of mountains and tunnels carved into the landscape. By night, the abandoned railway tunnels become conduits for memories, energies, and restless spirits, where laughter, shadows, and invisible hands remind visitors that some tragedies are never forgotten. Those who pass through the tunnels carry with them a sense of awe and unease, knowing that the road is not merely a path through the wilderness, but a corridor where the living and the dead meet, even if only for a moment. Cheeseman Canyon Trail, winding through the dense forests of Pike National Forest, is a serene escape for hikers seeking solitude, natural beauty, and the soothing sounds of the South Platte River. The towering trees, steep canyon walls, and babbling streams create an idyllic landscape by day. Yet, beneath this tranquil veneer lies a history steeped in tragedy, one that continues to whisper through the canyon, leaving some visitors with an uneasy sense that the past has never fully released its hold. Before Cheeseman Reservoir existed, a small, close-knit community thrived along the banks of the South Platte River. Families farmed the land, children played in the fields, and local miners and loggers carved out a life from the rugged terrain. That life was abruptly interrupted in the early 20th century when the Cheeseman Dam project began, ultimately flooding the valley to create the reservoir we see today. Entire homes, businesses, and livelihoods were submerged beneath the rising waters. Though the buildings disappeared beneath the surface, many believe the spirits of those displaced, or those who perished during the tumultuous construction, never left. Hikers along the trail frequently report a chill in the air. Sudden drops in temperature that seem out of place even in the warmer months. These cold spots often appear in sections of the trail where the forest canopy thickens, or along the banks of the river where the water flows most quietly. The sensation is immediate and visceral. Sudden shiver that leaves hikers glancing over their shoulders, half expecting to see a presence lurking just beyond sight. For many, it feels as though the spirits of the drowned community are brushing past them, silently observing their intrusion into the landscape that was once theirs. Anglers who cast lines along the South Platte have also shared unnerving encounters. Some swear they have seen pale faces emerge beneath the water's surface, staring up at them with hollow eyes before disappearing beneath the ripples. The sightings are fleeting, and skeptics might dismiss them as reflections or trickery of sunlight on water. Yet multiple reports describe the same phenomenon: ghostly, lingering gaze that vanishes as quickly as it appears. Others hear whispers carried on the wind, indecipherable words that sound like fragments of conversation or cries for help from beneath the depths. The trail itself seems to hold memory in its stones and soil. Hikers often notice footprints appearing in the dirt, only to vanish inexplicably, leaving no tracks leading away. Some report the feeling of being watched from the tree line, as if unseen eyes follow each step. Shadows move unnaturally among the trees, sometimes appearing as fleeting figures dressed in period clothing, perhaps remnants of miners, farmers, or families displaced by the dam. The canyon, quiet and secluded, becomes an eerie theater where the living and the dead share the same space. The reservoir, a vast expanse of still water, amplifies the sense of unease. Even in daylight, the water carries a strange, almost spectral quality. Mist often rises from the surface in the early morning, curling over the submerged remnants of homes and foundations, creating illusions of windows or doorways beneath the waves. On windy days, hikers and anglers report that the water seems to whisper, the faint sound of voices rising and falling with the currents. It is as if the river remembers the lives it claimed and refuses to let them go. Some visitors have attempted to explore the shoreline more closely, drawn by curiosity or a desire to see the ghostly faces for themselves. Along the shallows, submerged trees and rocks create shadows that play tricks on the eyes. But many insist there is more to what they see: shapes that move independently of the current, figures that seem to glance back at them, and occasional splashes where no fish could reach. Campers who spend the night along the banks describe restless dreams, sudden chills in the tents, and the sound of footsteps pacing along the water's edge when the area is otherwise empty. Even those walking the trail alone during the daytime report an oppressive weight, a sensation that the air itself is heavy with memory. The canyon's walls, steep and enclosing, seem to concentrate this energy, making the presence of the past more palpable. Birds fall silent unexpectedly, and wind seems to whisper in unnatural ways, carrying fragments of conversation, laughter, or cries. The trail becomes more than a path through the forest. It transforms into a corridor, where history and tragedy linger, and where every step is a reminder of lives lost beneath the reservoir's waters. Paranormal investigators and local historians alike have explored Cheeseman Canyon, drawn by the stories of restless spirits and inexplicable phenomena. Their recordings often capture subtle temperature drops, strange sounds, and fleeting orbs of light along the trail or near the water. Photographs occasionally reveal faint, misty figures or glowing shapes that vanish when looked at directly. For those sensitive to the supernatural, the trail is a living memorial, a place where the echoes of the past remain startlingly close. Despite its haunted reputation, hikers and nature lovers continue to traverse Cheeseman Canyon. The trail offers breathtaking scenery, the soothing murmur of the river, and the solitude of a forested escape. Yet, for those attuned to the whispers of the past, the experience is tinged with unease. Every chill of air, every fleeting shadow, and every unexplained sound is a reminder that the past is never truly gone, and that the spirits of Cheeseman Canyon remain tied to the land they once called home. For anyone walking the trail, the lesson is subtle but clear. Beauty and tragedy coexist here, entwined like the roots of the ancient trees along the path. The canyon is a place to appreciate the majesty of nature. Yet it also demands respect for the memories and lingering presences that haunt the waters and woods alike. Cheeseman Canyon is a quiet, somber guardian of history, holding both the living and the dead in its shadowed embrace. Silverton's Alpine Loop is a marvel of Colorado's high country, winding through jagged peaks, alpine meadows, and ghost towns frozen in time. By day, the route offers panoramic views of snow-capped mountains, rushing streams, and vibrant wildflowers dotting the hillsides. But beneath its breathtaking beauty lies a quiet, unsettling history, one that has left traces not only in the weathered structures along the trail, but in the spirits that many hikers swear still haunt these remote areas. As hikers traverse the loop, they pass through ghost towns like Animas Forks, once thriving mining settlements that flourished in the late 19th century before economic decline and harsh winters forced residents to abandon them. The buildings now stand as silent, skeletal reminders of lives once lived. And some claim that those lives have never fully departed. Empty houses sway in the wind, floors creaking as if someone unseen is pacing inside. Windows, long broken or boarded, sometimes reveal a flicker of lantern light, glowing as if the miners themselves are still at work, tending to their daily routines even a century after the towns were deserted. Visitors often describe the Alpine Loop as unnervingly quiet, a stillness that goes beyond the normal silence of high-altitude terrain. Footsteps crunching in gravel behind them, whispers in the wind, or the sound of a door closing in a building that no one inhabits, add to the eerie ambience. Some hikers swear they've felt eyes on them, a sudden prickling awareness that someone or something is observing their every move from the shadows of a cabin or the jagged cliffs above. The beauty of the scenery contrasts sharply with the lingering sense of unease, making even the most seasoned adventurers feel small and vulnerable. In Animas Forks, the remnants of mining life seem almost alive. Rusted equipment leans against walls, and old sluice boxes sit empty. Yet some claim to hear the clatter of tools and the distant hum of activity long since vanished. The spirits of miners who perished in accidents, cave-ins, or harsh winters are said to roam these grounds. Hikers report fleeting glimpses of figures dressed in period clothing, moving carefully between structures before disappearing when approached. Shadows lengthen unnaturally along the walls, and cold spots materialize in doorways as if the past itself is pressing against the present. The trail beyond the towns continues to weave through high passes and alpine forests, where the land itself seems infused with memory. Winds whistle through narrow canyons in a manner that sounds eerily like voices, and the sound of water tumbling over rocks sometimes carries a tone reminiscent of faint laughter or muted cries. Campers who set up along the route at night often awaken to unexplained disturbances, shaken by unseen hands. The rustle of footsteps circling their campfire, or distant lantern glows moving silently between trees. These experiences have been reported consistently enough to suggest that the spirits here are not tied solely to the towns, but to the landscape itself, a spectral imprint of human toil and tragedy woven into the terrain. Even the higher reaches of the Alpine Loop hold stories of restless presences. The trail climbs above treeline, where jagged rocks and exposed ridges leave hikers feeling exposed to both the elements and the unseen. Snowfields and scree slopes sometimes reveal footprints that vanish mysteriously, as though someone or something has walked through and disappeared without trace. Some hikers have described hearing voices calling names in the wind, soft and almost comforting at first, but gradually growing insistent, as if the spirits are trying to communicate or warn. The isolation, combined with the region's rich history of hardship, amplifies these eerie sensations. Orbs of light hovering near old cabins, faint shadowy figures glimpsed through broken windows, and occasional misty forms appearing in the corners of shots have all been reported. while skeptics may attribute these to weather, light, or imagination. The consistency of reports from different hikers over decades suggests something more than mere coincidence. The Alpine Loop seems to serve as a conduit between the present and the spectral remnants of its past, a place where time has layered its memories in ways that remain palpable to the living. Hikers and adventurers continue to return, drawn by the scenic grandeur and the thrill of encountering history in its most visceral form. Many treat the area with reverence, leaving small tokens near abandoned buildings or along the trail in respect for those who labored and perished here. The combination of stunning beauty and spectral activity creates an experience that is both exhilarating and haunting. A reminder that the Alpine Loop is more than a hike. It is a living chronicle of human ambition, endurance, and loss. The eerie quiet, the unexpected glimpses of figures in lantern light, and the sense of being followed by invisible footsteps serve as constant reminders that the Alpine Loop is alive in ways beyond the natural. Every abandoned building, rusted tool, and snow-covered ridge hold stories that the wind carries for those willing to listen. For hikers who venture here, the trail is a journey not only through Colorado's breathtaking landscapes, but also through a spectral archive of miners' lives, lost towns, and memories that refuse to fade. Silverton's Alpine Loop remains an unforgettable adventure. It is breathtaking, isolating, and undeniably haunted. Hikers leave with memories of beauty and shadow, of crisp mountain air and whispered voices, of the thrill of exploration mingled with the chill of unseen eyes watching. The trail is a reminder that the mountains, in all their grandeur, are not merely scenery. They are keepers of history, guardians of spirits, and silent witnesses to lives that continue to linger long after the last lamp has gone out. Boulder's Bluebell Trail, winding through the rolling foothills to Chautauqua Park, is a favorite among locals and visitors alike. The trail offers a perfect blend of natural beauty, wildflowers carpeting the meadows in spring, the hum of bees among the blossoms, and panoramic views of the Flatirons rising dramatically above the valley. Hikers set out for exercise, fresh air, or simply the joy of being outdoors. Yet beneath the picturesque surface lies a legend that has haunted this trail for decades. Many speak in hushed tones about a presence that follows, always just at the edge of sight, leaving an unsettling feeling that is hard to shake. Locals tell of a phantom hiker, a tall man wearing a wide-brimmed hat, who seems to appear only in peripheral vision. Hikers swear they catch glimpses of him out of the corner of their eye, a dark silhouette standing among the trees, blending almost seamlessly into the shadows, disappearing when looked at directly. At first, the sightings are subtle, a flash of movement, a shadow shifting unnaturally. But over time, the stories grow chillingly consistent. Those who have encountered him describe an overwhelming sense of being watched, a prickling awareness that does not fade even as the trail stretches on. Footsteps are another common report. Hikers often hear them pacing just behind, crunching over gravel or brushing through fallen leaves, keeping exact time with their own. The sound evokes a strange, almost intimate presence, as if the phantom is mimicking their movements, never overtaking them, yet never leaving them alone. Turning around yields nothing, no figure, no sound other than the hiker's own steps and the soft rustle of the breeze. Some hikers, unnerved, quicken their pace, only to hear the phantom matching every stride. Footsteps falling with the same rhythm and cadence, reinforcing the eerie notion that they are never truly alone on this trail. The Bluebell Trail is particularly active at dusk and dawn. The long shadows of the hills, combined with the low angle of the sun, create an environment ripe for optical illusions. But the repeated consistency of sightings and the accompanying sensations of unease suggest something more than a trick of light. At times, hikers report a sudden drop in temperature, a cold draft that snakes through the trees without warning. The chill seems to pass directly over them, unlike any natural wind, lingering just long enough to make them shiver and glance around for the source, finding none. By the time the trail reaches its overlook, where sweeping views of Boulder and the surrounding plains unfold, the stories often take a more intense turn. Hikers describe the sensation of being stalked, reaching its peak, a weight in the air that presses against them, as though the phantom hiker is drawing closer without making a sound. Some claim they felt a hand brush their shoulder, only to find that the path behind them remains empty. Others recount glimpses of the figure standing at the edge of the overlook, watching silently, then vanishing when they blink or turn for a second look. The legend of the Bluebell Trail Phantom is not new. Accounts span decades, told by generations of locals who grew up hiking the foothills. Many recount the same features: tall, wide-brimmed hat, shadow-like appearance, and an uncanny ability to remain just beyond direct sight. While some suggest that the stories are fueled by imagination and the natural eeriness of the foothills, the sheer number of consistent reports, paired with the physical sensations of cold drafts, weight, and inexplicable footsteps, have convinced many that the presence is real. Even those who approach the trail during daylight hours cannot escape the sense of being observed. Birds sometimes fall silent as hikers pass, and the usual rustle of wildlife seems to pause. A sudden snapping of a twig, or a soft brush of movement in the corner of the eye immediately draws attention. But, when looked at, nothing is there. The trail, so inviting in its beauty, becomes a place where the mind is forced to question whether the living and the spectral share the same space. Campers and evening hikers report that the phantom's attention is not malicious, yet it is unnerving. Some feel watched but never threatened, as if the figure exists to follow, to witness, rather than to harm. Others, however, have experienced increasing anxiety, a creeping dread that builds as they climb higher along the trail. The effect is cumulative, each step amplifying the sensation of being accompanied by a silent observer whose presence is tangible, yet impossible to confront. Many who have experienced this phenomenon leave the overlook quickly, descending the trail with a heightened sense of awareness, constantly glancing over shoulders and expecting the phantom to materialize at any moment. Even as they reach the trailhead, some report a lingering feeling, as if the presence has followed them beyond the Bluebell Trail itself, trailing just behind in memory, never fully letting go. Despite the eerie tales, the Bluebell Trail remains a beloved route for hikers and nature enthusiasts. The breathtaking views, vibrant wildflowers, and serene setting continue to attract adventurers. Yet, for those who have felt the weight of the phantom's gaze, the trail carries a dual identity, a place of natural beauty and a corridor haunted by a silent companion. Every glance in the corner of the eye, every unexplainable chill, every soft echo of footsteps is a reminder that the past, the unknown, or something else entirely, still walks alongside those who dare to venture here. Boulder's Bluebell Trail is more than just a hike. It is a living story of beauty intertwined with unease, where nature and the supernatural coexist. For those who tread its paths, the landscape is unforgettable, but so too is the feeling that the trail itself holds a watcher, a presence whose eyes remain just out of sight, accompanying every step from Wildflower Meadow to Chautauqua Overlook, whispering a silent warning that some trails are never walked alone. Phantom Canyon Road, winding through the rugged terrain near Florence, Colorado, follows the path of an old railroad line that once carried trains through the narrow canyon. By day, the road offers dramatic views of sheer cliffs, winding curves, and the remnants of abandoned rail infrastructure. But the trail's name hints at a darker side, one whispered about by locals and hikers alike. For decades, people have reported strange and unsettling occurrences that suggest the canyon is more than just a geological wonder. It is a place where the boundary between the living and the spectral seems disturbingly thin. Travelers along Phantom Canyon Road often speak of inexplicable lights flickering along the cliffs. At first, these lights appear as distant lanterns, gently swaying in the wind. But as one approaches, the lights vanish without a trace. Hikers report seeing them along ledges where no footpaths exist, hovering in places that would be impossible to reach. Some interpret these glowing apparitions as the spirits of railroad workers who perished during the construction of the line, their lamps eternally searching for safe footing along the treacherous cliffs. Others feel the lights are warnings, a spectral caution against straying too close to the canyon's dangerous edges. The auditory experiences along Phantom Canyon Road are equally unnerving. Hikers often describe disembodied voices echoing off the cliffs, sometimes carrying conversations or cries that cannot be linked to any living person. Some swear they've heard the whistle of an old train echoing faintly through the canyon. Though no tracks have carried locomotives in decades, the sound can be distant and soft, almost comforting at first. But it often grows louder and more insistent, unnerving those who traverse the trail. There are accounts of hikers pausing mid-step, frozen as if compelled by the voices, only to find the canyon eerily silent when they regain their senses. The sensation of being physically manipulated is one of the most chilling reports associated with Phantom Canyon Road. Hikers have described a sudden tug or pull, as though invisible hands are trying to guide or shove them toward the cliff's edge. The feeling is fleeting but intense, leaving a lasting impression that something unseen is both aware of their presence and interested in their movements. Some believe this is the canyon itself asserting control, a malevolent spirit tied to the land, while others argue it may be the restless souls of those who met tragic ends along the railroad. Whatever the source, it is a phenomenon that leaves even experienced hikers unnerved. The canyon's geology amplifies the eerie atmosphere. Narrow passages, high rock walls, and abrupt drop-offs create pockets where sound behaves strangely. Echoing footsteps, voices, and other noises in ways that make it difficult to pinpoint their origin. Shadows shift unpredictably as the sun moves across the sky, and the interplay of light and rock can produce fleeting forms that vanish when looked at directly. Many hikers report seeing these shadowy shapes moving along ledges or in the trees, disappearing before they can be closely observed. The natural beauty of the canyon masks an omnipresent tension, a subtle warning that something unseen watches from the cliffs above. Phantom Canyon Road is also known for strange atmospheric phenomena. Cold spots appear without warning, especially near cliff edges or along sections where the railroad once ran. Hikers report sudden chills, the feeling of breath on the back of the neck, or the sensation of a presence pressing against them, even in otherwise sunny and calm weather. Some have observed fog rolling in from the canyon bottom, seemingly drawn to specific areas, forming shapes that resemble figures or glowing lanterns. These visual and tactile experiences are difficult to dismiss as coincidence, leaving visitors with a profound sense of otherworldly activity. Locals have passed down stories that give the canyon its reputation. Some tell of workers who fell from the cliffs while building the rail line. Their bodies never recovered, leaving spirits trapped between earth and sky. Others recount tales of travelers who disappeared mysteriously along the trail, the canyon swallowing them without a trace. These legends lend context to the strange occurrences hikers report, reinforcing the idea that Phantom Canyon Road is more than a simple hiking trail. It is a corridor for those who never left. Despite or perhaps because of its haunted reputation, Phantom Canyon Road continues to draw adventurous hikers, photographers, and paranormal enthusiasts. The canyon's beauty is undeniable, and many are drawn to its dramatic cliffs, historic railroad remnants, and sweeping vistas. But those who linger too long, who wander too close to the edge, often leave with an unsettling awareness. They were not alone. The lights, voices, and sudden tugs on the body serve as reminders that the canyon holds secrets that do not rest quietly. Those who have experienced the phenomenon often describe a lingering effect after leaving the canyon. A sense of being followed, faint echoes of voices, and otherwise quiet spaces, or the memory of invisible hands tugging at them, can persist for days. Phantom Canyon Road is a place that leaves its mark, blending natural majesty with an enduring supernatural presence. Every cliff, curve, and shadowed corner seems to whisper of tragedies long past, yet immediate and vivid, as if the canyon itself remembers. Phantom Canyon Road is more than just a trail. It is a haunting, living story, etched into the cliffs and shadows of Florence, Colorado. For hikers who venture into its depths, the experience is unforgettably mixture of awe, fear, and the unnerving knowledge that the canyon is alive with presences that watch, whisper, and, perhaps, wait for the unwary traveler to step too close to the edge. Devil's Head Lookout Trail, nestled deep within Pike National Forest, offers hikers one of Colorado's most rewarding climbs. The trail winds through dense pine and fir forests, steep switchbacks, and rocky outcrops, leading ultimately to the historic Devil's Head Fire Lookout perched atop a high summit. By day, the views are spectacular. Miles of forest stretching toward distant mountains, a panoramic expanse of sky, and the sense of standing above the world. Yet beneath this natural beauty lies a darker side, one that has haunted the trail and the surrounding forest for decades. Hikers often speak of strange occurrences that defy simple explanation. Shadowy figures are the most common reports, glimpsed moving between trees or standing motionless along the trail, their shapes tall and unnervingly human-like, yet impossibly still. Some hikers describe a creeping sensation, a feeling that they are being followed, only to turn and find the forest empty. These encounters are often briefer, fleeting silhouette at the edge of vision, but the memory lingers, accompanied by a deep sense of unease that can shadow the remainder of the hike. The forest surrounding Devil's Head is also known for glowing red eyes that appear after sunset. Campers and evening hikers alike have reported seeing pairs of luminous, crimson points staring from the dense tree line, unblinking and seemingly aware of every movement. The eyes vanish if approached, leaving behind nothing but the darkened forest. Some speculate these are the eyes of forest creatures, though the size, intensity, and behavior of the lights defy known wildlife patterns. Others believe they are manifestations of the supernatural, a warning to those who dare wander too far from the safety of the trail. The trail itself seems to amplify these eerie experiences. Narrow paths, winding through thick stands of trees, create pockets where sound travels oddly. The rustle of branches, the snap of twigs, and even the faint rush of wind can take on an almost human cadence. Hikers report hearing whispers and low murmurs carried from unseen corners, voices that seem to echo without origin. At times, the whispers are accompanied by a sensation of breath on the back of the neck, a cold draft that passes through the body as though someone or something is walking close behind. Campers near the trail often tell the most chilling stories. Many have awakened to heavy, labored breathing outside their tents, only to find no footprints in the surrounding soil or snow. Sometimes the sound comes in waves, moving around the campsite as though circling them, never revealing a source. Those who brave these nights frequently describe an oppressive sense of being watched, a lingering presence that seems both patient and predatory. The forest feels alive, aware of intruders in a way that is difficult to explain rationally. Historical accounts add to the trail's haunted reputation. The area has long been a lookout point, with the Devil's Head Fire Lookout itself built in 1912 to spot forest fires across vast expanses of Pike National Forest. Though the lookout served a practical purpose, stories abound of rangers who reported seeing unexplainable figures on distant ridges, lights flickering in the trees below, or feeling sudden chills even in warm weather. Some believe these early sightings laid the foundation for the modern reports of supernatural activity along the trail. Even during daylight, the forest can feel unsettling. Hikers report that shadows appear darker and longer than they should. Shapes shift in ways that the eye cannot immediately comprehend, and there is a constant sense of being observed from the periphery. Birds may suddenly fall silent, and the normal forest sounds fade, replaced by an almost tangible stillness. Many who reach the summit of Devil's Head Fire Lookout speak of a profound, almost spiritual unease, as if the entire forest has been watching their journey, evaluating their presence. Despite the unsettling experiences, hikers are drawn to Devil's Head Lookout Trail by its beauty, its history, and the challenge of its climb. Yet for those who tread its path, the hike becomes more than a simple trek through nature, becomes a confrontation with something beyond the ordinary. The combination of shadow figures, glowing red eyes, unexplained whispers, and the sensation of unseen observers creates an atmosphere that is both thrilling and unnerving. Stories of lost hikers and strange disappearances add to the lore, though many details remain anecdotal and unverified. The cumulative effect of these tales, paired with the natural eeriness of the forest, ensures that the legend of Devil's Head remains alive. Locals and regular hikers often share advice to stick to the trail. Avoid venturing off after dark, and respect the presence that seems to linger just beyond sight. For those who brave the climb and camp along the trail, the Devil's Head lookout experience is unforgettable. The breathtaking summit views contrast sharply with the underlying tension that pervades the forest, leaving hikers with a dual sense of awe and apprehension. Even after leaving the trail, many report lingering feelings of being followed, subtle glimpses of shadow in their peripheral vision, and the faint echo of unexplainable breathing in quiet moments. Devil's Head Lookout Trail is more than just a hike. It is a living story of the forest's hidden, supernatural side. Every shadow, every rustle, every red-eyed gaze reminds hikers that Pike National Forest harbors secrets not easily understood. Those who walk its paths may conquer the climb, but the forest and the mysterious presences within it remain, silently observing, forever part of the wilderness's enduring, haunting legend. Spruce Mountain Trail, winding through the hills near Larkspur, Colorado, is a favorite destination for hikers and campers seeking solitude and panoramic views. By day, the trail offers dense pine forests, rocky outcrops, and a quiet serenity that seems untouched by time. Sunlight filters through the evergreens, illuminating wildflowers and moss-covered stones, creating an idyllic scene for photographers and nature lovers alike. Yet beneath this tranquil exterior lies a darker history, one that has lent Spruce Mountain a reputation as one of Colorado's most haunted hiking areas. Local lore speaks of spectral horses and riders that appear when night falls. These apparitions are said to be the echoes of cavalrymen and settlers who once traversed the mountain, often meeting violent or untimely ends. Campers have reported sudden tremors beneath their tents, as if hooves are pounding across the slopes. Moments later, the sound of a full charge, thundering hooves, clanging spurs, and the indistinct shouts of men races past, leaving no visible source. The echoes linger, fading only when the wind carries them away, and the ground seems to settle as though nothing had passed at all. Some hikers describe catching glimpses of ghostly riders, silhouetted against the night sky, mounted on pale, ethereal horses. The figures are often dressed in period uniforms, their faces obscured or blurred, yet unmistakably human in shape and posture. They appear at impossible distances, sometimes on distant ridges, only to vanish when approached. Others have seen them crossing the trail itself, stopping briefly to watch the living traveler before galloping off into the darkness. These sightings are sudden and fleeting, leaving observers questioning whether what they saw was real or merely a trick of shadows and imagination. The air on Spruce Mountain at night carries additional spectral impressions. Many campers report smelling smoke and gunpowder, scents that seem to arise from nowhere and dissipate just as quickly. These odors are often accompanied by a sense of unease, a tingling on the skin, or a prickling sensation along the spine, as though unseen eyes are watching every movement. Some hikers claim that even the wind behaves strangely, rustling branches with an almost deliberate rhythm, mimicking the sounds of marching men or the swish of riding cloaks. Historical records hint at why Spruce Mountain may be so haunted. The slopes and ridges were once the site of skirmishes and battles during territorial conflicts in the 19th century. Cavalry units, miners, and settlers all passed through these hills, and some met their ends in violent confrontations or sudden accidents. Legends hold that the spirits of those lost on the mountain are tethered to the land, replaying moments of fear, valor, or desperation over and over. The spectral riders may be echoes of these events, forever repeating their nocturnal patrols or engagements on the slopes they once knew in life. Hikers also speak of more subtle, eerie phenomena. Occasionally, shadows seem to dart across the trail, moving in ways that defy natural explanations. Twigs snap without anyone nearby, and cold drafts drift through the forest even on calm nights. Some campers have reported equipment disappearing or shifting mysteriously, tents flapping as though an unseen force is passing through. The forest seems to respond to the presence of the living. A silent but undeniable awareness that adds to the trail's haunting reputation. One of the most unsettling aspects of Spruce Mountain is the unpredictability of the phenomena. While the spectral horses and riders are most often reported after dark, other experiences occur in daylight as well. Hikers have described seeing a fleeting shadow cross their path, or finding depressions in the dirt where hooves or boots should have left no marks. The trail itself can feel alive, subtly guiding or redirecting travelers as though unseen entities are testing their resolve. Despite tour, perhaps because of its haunted history, Spruce Mountain Trail continues to attract adventurers. The views from the ridges, the quiet of the forest, and the challenge of the ascent draw people from all over Colorado and beyond. Yet those who venture here rarely leave unchanged. Many speak of a lingering awareness after hiking the trail, a sense that they were observed by forces beyond comprehension. The memory of ghostly riders, the echoing hooves, and the scent of smoke and gunpowder can follow travelers long after they descend from the mountain, a reminder that Spruce Mountain holds more than natural beauty. The mountain's allure lies in the combination of awe-inspiring scenery and chilling supernatural encounters. Hikers and campers often describe the thrill of standing on a ridge at sunset, witnessing the beauty of the landscape while feeling the weight of history and the presence of spirits. There is a paradoxical sensation of peace and fear intertwined, as though the mountain itself embodies both the splendor of nature and the tragedies of human struggle. Spruce Mountain Trail is not just a hiking destination. It is a place where the past lingers and the living brush against echoes of lives long gone. Every snapping twig, every gust of cold wind, and every shadow at the edge of vision tells a story of history, conflict, and restless spirits. The spectral riders, the pounding hooves, and the lingering sense of smoke and gunpowder serve as constant reminders that Spruce Mountain is a place where the living and the dead converge, a mountain that remembers. For those who dare to hike or camp along Spruce Mountain Trail, the experience is unforgettable. The natural beauty is undeniable, but the spectral phenomena ensure that every trip carries a sense of reverence and unease. The mountain does not easily reveal its secrets, yet its ghosts are patient, persistent, and ever watchful, making Spruce Mountain a hauntingly beautiful reminder that some places hold the past close, refusing to let it go. Red Rocks Trail in Morrison, Colorado, is world-renowned for its towering sandstone formations and the legendary amphitheater carved into the cliffs. By day, hikers and tourists are drawn to the dramatic scenery, the sweeping views of the surrounding foothills, and a sense of awe inspired by the immense rock walls. Yet, beyond its natural splendor and musical fame, the trails surrounding Red Rocks harbor a history steeped in sorrow, displacement, and lingering spirits that many visitors have sensed, often without explanation. Local legends tell of native tribes who once lived, hunted, and held ceremonies on these lands long before the amphitheater existed. Forced from their ancestral territories by the arrival of settlers, their connection to the land did not disappear. Many believe that the spirits of these displaced peoples still roam the trails, guardians of a landscape that was violently taken from them. Hikers have reported feeling a sudden chill while walking among the red cliffs, as if the canyon itself exhaled the sorrow of centuries. Even during the daytime, a subtle unease can settle over visitors. The shadows between the sandstone formations sometimes appear to shift unnaturally, resembling figures in traditional dress moving among the rocks. Several hikers have sworn they glimpsed a figure standing atop a cliff or crouched near the path, only to vanish when approached. These sightings are often fleeting, leaving observers questioning their own eyes. Yet the impressions are vivid enough to unsettle even the most skeptical. Auditory phenomena are particularly haunting. Trails near the amphitheater have been reported to echo with faint chanting, prayers, and drum beats. The sounds are usually distant, carried on the wind through narrow canyons, and seem to emanate from nowhere in particular. Some hikers describe these echoes as rhythmic, almost ceremonial, while others hear fragmented words or calls that feel both urgent and sorrowful. There is no consistent source, and electronic recordings rarely capture the sounds, leaving them as ephemeral experiences shared only by those present. Nighttime on Red Rocks Trail heightens these eerie encounters. Campers and evening hikers often speak of seeing faint, glowing lights flickering among the rock formations, as though candles or torches were carried by figures moving silently through the canyons. These apparitions appear briefly, sometimes lingering at cliff edges or around natural alcoves before dissolving entirely into shadow. Even the most casual visitor senses an attentive presence, as if the spirits are aware of each person walking their lands, observing silently from the rock formations they once called home. The terrain itself seems to amplify the supernatural experiences. The towering sandstone walls create pockets of echo and reflection, so that a whisper or footstep can be carried unexpectedly. A gust of wind through the canyon may sound like voices or distant chants, and the natural acoustics can make small movements or noises seem unnervingly close. Hikers often report the uncanny sensation of being followed, catching glimpses of motion in the corner of their eyes, hearing leaves rustle or pebbles shift with no visible cause. The feeling is persistent and leaves many uneasy, even after the trail opens into the expansive views of the surrounding foothills. Historically, the Red Rocks area has witnessed significant upheaval. The tribes who inhabited this land practiced sacred rituals here, and their lives were closely tied to the mesas, cliffs, and canyons. Displacement and loss left emotional and spiritual scars, which some believe have imprinted upon the landscape itself. The amphitheater, while a symbol of culture and music, sits atop land that once carried deep spiritual significance. Many of the strange experiences along the trails are interpreted as echoes of the past. The sorrow and resilience of people whose presence is woven into the earth and stone. Several hikers have reported more tangible interactions. Rocks along the path sometimes appear moved or arranged oddly, as though someone or something had shifted them while observers weren't looking. Others describe an invisible weight pressing upon the shoulders or a sudden rush of cold air. While standing in open spaces between the formations, the experiences are subtle but undeniable, adding to the sense that Red Rocks Trail is more than a scenic route. It is a living reminder of history, memory, and lingering spirits. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena creates a hauntingly immersive experience. A hike along Red Rocks Trail becomes not just a physical journey, but an encounter with layers of history and the presence of those who came before. Shadowy figures, distant chants, and fleeting lights all contribute to an atmosphere that is both beautiful and unsettling, a place where natural grandeur intertwines with the echoes of human loss and resilience. Despite or, perhaps because of these eerie tales, Red Rocks Trail continues to draw visitors. Hikers, photographers, and history enthusiasts are captivated not only by the dramatic scenery, but also by the trail's reputation for supernatural encounters. For those sensitive to the atmosphere, the trail offers a profound connection to the past, a chance to walk in the footsteps of people long gone while feeling the enduring power of the land itself. Red Rocks Trail is a place where beauty and sorrow coexist, where sandstone cliffs shelter both breathtaking views and unseen presences. Every rustle in the trees, every shadow at the edge of vision, and every faint drumbeat in the canyon is a reminder that the land carries memory. Visitors may come for exercise, photography, or the majesty of nature, but many leave with an awareness that Red Rocks is alive with history, with spirits who watch, listen, and remember. For those who walk its paths, the experience is unforgettable. The trail challenges the body while stirring the imagination, leaving a lasting impression of awe, respect, and quiet unease. Red Rocks Trail is more than a hike. It is a living testament to the land's history, a place where the past refuses to be silent, and where those who once called it home continue to watch from the shadows of the rocks. Bridal Veil Falls Trail in Telluride, Colorado, draws hikers for its breathtaking scenery and the allure of Colorado's tallest waterfall. The trail winds through dense forests, jagged cliffs, and cascading streams, offering panoramic views of the surrounding mountains. By day, it is a haven for nature lovers, photographers, and adventurous hikers seeking the thrill of ascending toward the 365-foot waterfall. Yet beneath its scenic beauty lies a darker history, one that local legend suggests continues to haunt the falls and the surrounding trail. The story most commonly told involves a young woman who, according to local lore, tragically fell from the top of the falls many years ago. Some versions say it was an accident during a hiking expedition, while others whisper of heartbreak or misfortune that drove her to the edge. Whatever the truth, her presence is said to linger in the mist and spray that envelops the falls, a spectral echo of sorrow and loss. Hikers ascending the trail often report sudden chills and an unshakable sense of unease as they draw closer to the waterfall, even during warm summer days. Many visitors describe hearing faint sounds carried on the wind, sobs, cries, or screams that seem to emanate from the falls themselves. These sounds are usually faint at first, blending with the roar of cascading water. But some hikers insist that the emotion behind the noise is unmistakable. Despair, anguish, and an eternal mourning. The cries are said to intensify when hikers approach the base of the falls or near certain vantage points along the trail, creating an uncanny sense that the spirit is aware of their presence, watching and responding to their movement. Several hikers and night explorers have reported seeing a glowing figure near the waterfall, often described as a translucent woman, her form illuminated by an ethereal light that contrasts sharply with the natural surroundings. Witnesses say her hair appears wet, clinging to her face, and her clothing flows like the falling water itself. The figure is rarely stationary, sometimes appearing at the edge of the trail, sometimes hovering above the rocks near the falls, vanishing when approached. The experience is so vivid that hikers often pause in shock, feeling both awe and terror, unsure if what they saw was real or a figment of their imagination, heightened by the roar of the falls. The trail's terrain amplifies the eerie phenomena. Narrow paths along steep cliffs, sudden drops, and the ever-present mist create optical illusions that can make shadows seem alive. Rocks glisten in the spray, reflecting light in ways that resemble fleeting movements or figures. Even the wind seems to carry a voice at times, rustling through the trees and echoing off canyon walls with a cadence that can sound uncannily like whispering or crying. Many hikers describe the sensation of being observed, a pressure or weight in the air, as though the spirit of the fallen woman follows their ascent silently, keeping vigil over the waterfall and those who dare to approach. Some stories suggest that the falls themselves act as a conduit for the tragic spirit, the energy of her death trapped in the mist and the roar of the water. The vertical plunge and the constant movement of the cascade are said to amplify residual emotions, projecting grief and despair into the surrounding forest and trail. Night hikers often report that the sounds of sobbing are more pronounced after sunset, when shadows stretch and the forest grows silent except for the occasional roar of the waterfall. The combination of natural acoustics, darkness, and isolation can create an intensely unsettling experience, even for those who do not normally believe in the supernatural. Beyond the cries and the spectral figure, hikers have noted other peculiar occurrences along the trail. Rocks sometimes appear displaced or arranged in unusual ways, suggesting movement when no one is nearby. Sudden temperature drops, cold gusts of wind, and unexplained shivers are frequently reported, even on calm days. Some hikers swear they have felt the sensation of a hand brushing their shoulder, or the feeling of being guided or warned along the treacherous paths. These subtle interactions reinforce the belief that the falls and the trail remain tethered to the memory of the tragic woman, her presence shaping the experiences of those who traverse her former domain. Despite the haunting tales, Bridal Veil Falls Trail remains a popular destination. The natural beauty, the challenge of the hike, and the allure of Colorado's tallest waterfall continue to draw visitors. Yet those who are aware of the legend often report a heightened sense of respect, caution, and reverence. Hikers describe the trail as both breathtaking and unnerving, a place where the majesty of nature intertwines with the sorrow of a life cut short. leaving a lingering, emotional imprint on all who visit. The experience of hiking Bridal Veil Falls Trail becomes not only a physical journey, but a brush with the spectral past. Every spray of water, every gust of wind, and every shadow along the trail carries the weight of history and tragedy. For those willing to listen and look closely, the cries in the mist and the glowing figure above the falls offer a haunting reminder that some places in nature are alive with memory, grief, and lingering spirits. For hikers who approach with awareness and respect, the trail provides a unique blend of beauty and mystery. The natural grandeur of the mountains and waterfall is undeniable, yet the spectral presence ensures that every step is accompanied by a sense of history and something otherworldly. Bridal Veil Falls is more than a trail or a waterfall. It's a living memorial, where sorrow lingers in the mist and echoes through the canyon, reminding the living that the past is never truly gone. Carroll's Lion's Trailhead, nestled among the striking red sandstone formations of Colorado's foothills, offers hikers breathtaking views and an immersive experience in nature. By day, the trail is popular with walkers, runners, and families seeking the serenity of towering cliffs, winding paths, and open meadows. The sandstone formations catch the sunlight, casting dramatic shadows across the trail, and the landscape is alive with the sounds of birds, wind rustling through grasses, and the occasional rustle of wildlife. Yet beneath this natural beauty, there is a darker side to Lion's Trailhead, one that emerges as the sun sets and shadows lengthen along the rocks. Local lore tells of strange figures and unexplained phenomena that appear after dusk. Hikers and evening explorers have reported seeing shadowy forms moving among the rocks, figures that seem to watch from ledges or crouch in the crevices. These shadows often remain at the edge of vision, vanishing or blending into the sandstone when directly observed. Some describe the figures as humanoid in shape, tall and thin, while others insist they are more animalistic, moving with unnatural speed and silence. The experiences leave a lasting impression, even on those who try to rationalize the sightings as tricks of light or imagination. Perhaps the most unsettling reports come from hikers who have seen glowing eyes staring from the darkness. These eyes, described as unnaturally bright and fixed, appear suddenly, often tracking the movement of anyone on the trail. When hikers approach or shine a flashlight in the direction of the eyes, the figures disappear entirely, leaving no trace behind. Some witnesses report feeling a sudden chill or the sensation of being watched even after the eyes vanish, as if the unseen creatures lingered just beyond perception, observing silently. The natural features of Lion's Trailhead seem to amplify these eerie encounters. The red sandstone formations create deep shadows and hidden alcoves, providing countless hiding places for whatever moves through the night. The wind whistles through cracks and between rocks, carrying sounds that can be mistaken for whispers or distant footsteps. Even the rustling of small animals seems unnaturally amplified in the quiet of evening, creating an unsettling atmosphere that makes the familiar trail feel alien. Many hikers report that the landscape itself seems to shift subtly in the dark, with ledges, boulders, and trees appearing in places where they were not seen during daylight hours. Some visitors have experienced the phenomenon of being followed while hiking alone at dusk or night. They report hearing faint footsteps behind them, keeping pace despite the absence of anyone else on the trail. The sounds sometimes fade when they stop, only to resume when they continue walking. Others describe feeling a pressure at their backs, an almost tangible presence urging them forward or simply accompanying them through the darkness. These sensations, combined with the visual sightings, suggest that Lion's Trailhead is home to more than just ordinary wildlife or environmental trickery. Witnesses often describe the encounters as fleeting but emotionally intense. A shadow moving along a ridge, a pair of glowing eyes vanishing into a crevice, or a rustling in the rocks can leave hikers with a profound sense of unease. The fear is accompanied by a feeling of being watched, as if the sandstone formations themselves are alive with sentience, harboring memories or entities that refuse to be disturbed. Some longtime locals claim that these experiences are linked to events from the distant past: disappearances, mysterious accidents, or untold stories lost to time, suggesting that the land carries an imprint of history alongside its natural beauty. The trail's combination of visual intrigue, isolation, and natural acoustics makes encounters particularly immersive. Shifting shadows play tricks on the eye, while echoes in the rock formations can create phantom noises that feel close and personal. Hikers report that the quietest sections of the trail at night seem to magnify the presence of whatever is there, creating a heightened awareness of every movement, every rustle, and every whisper of wind. The experience is so convincing that even skeptics often leave with a lingering unease, questioning what they truly saw or felt. While most daytime visitors experience the trail as a peaceful escape into nature, those who venture at night describe Lion's Trailhead as a place where reality and the unknown intersect. Shadowy figures, glowing eyes, and the sensation of being followed transform a familiar landscape into a stage for something inexplicable. Many hikers return home with a story, a lingering shiver, or the simple, haunting sense that the land itself is watching. Despite the unnerving experiences, Carroll's Lion's Trailhead remains a popular destination for adventurous hikers. The dramatic red sandstone, sweeping vistas, and intimate connection with the natural environment continue to attract visitors. Yet, for those aware of the lore, the trail is approached with caution after dark, a place where beauty and fear coexist, where the landscape is alive with mystery, and where unseen watchers remain hidden in the shadows. Lion's Trailhead serves as a reminder that even the most picturesque paths can carry secrets. Every flicker of movement in the corner of the eye, every flash of glowing light, and every sudden chill along the rocks is a testament to the trail's haunting presence. Hikers who traverse the sandstone formations after sunset leave with more than the memory of breathtaking scenery. They carry the sense that something unseen follows, watches, and waits, bound to the trail long after the day has ended. Leadville's Mineral Belt Trail is a scenic loop that draws hikers, bikers, and history enthusiasts alike. Winding through the rugged terrain and high-altitude landscapes of Colorado's famed mining country. By day, the trail offers stunning views of snow-capped peaks, wildflowers dotting the hillsides, and remnants of the mining era rusted machinery, abandoned cabins, and crumbling stone foundations that hint at a bygone industrial past. Yet beneath the beauty of the Mineral Belt Trail lies a lingering energy, a sense of the past that refuses to remain buried, manifesting in ways that have unsettled hikers for generations. The trail passes through the remnants of Leadville's mining boom, where thousands of men once toiled in dangerous conditions, extracting silver and gold from the surrounding mountains. The physical dangers they faced, the risk of cave-ins, explosions, and accidents left an imprint on the land. Locals believe this energy still lingers, and hikers often report experiences that suggest the spirits of miners remain tied to the trail and ruins they once called home. One of the most common phenomena reported along the Mineral Belt Trail is the sighting of ghostly figures carrying lanterns. These apparitions often appear at dusk or under the dim light of early morning, moving deliberately along the path or pausing near abandoned cabins and equipment. Witnesses describe the figures as wearing period clothing, dusty coats, hats, and boots, casting long, distorted shadows across the trail. Many hikers report that the lanterns flicker as if caught in a non-existent breeze, and that the figures vanish when approached, leaving only the faint glow lingering in the darkness. In addition to visual sightings, hikers frequently report auditory phenomena. The clinking of chains, the echo of hammering, and the distant roar of explosions are often heard in isolated sections of the trail. These sounds are startlingly precise, echoing across the hills, as though the miners' work has been replayed for anyone who will listen. Some hikers have described moments when the clanging seems to follow them, coming from multiple directions at once, creating the unnerving sensation of being surrounded by unseen laborers, still engaged in their eternal toil. Another haunting element of the Mineral Belt Trail is the sudden presence of smells that seem out of place. Hikers have reported catching whiffs of smoke, dynamite, and metallic scents that vanish as quickly as they appear. These odors are particularly unsettling because they often accompany other paranormal experiences. the distant sounds of mining, shadowy figures glimpsed in the corner of the eye, or the feeling of a sudden, inexplicable chill. It is as though the trail itself breathes the history of labor, danger, and tragedy, and the past asserts itself through the senses of those who wander its path. The trail's natural topography seems to amplify these phenomena. Narrow switchbacks, steep ravines, and hidden alcoves create pockets where sound carries in unusual ways, making distant noises seem near, and shadows seem to move independently of the surrounding environment. Some hikers describe the feeling of being watched, of eyes tracking them from abandoned structures or behind boulders, though no living observer is present. This constant tension between beauty and unease leaves many with a profound sense of respect for the history embedded in the trail. Stories from longtime locals add depth to the haunting reputation of the Mineral Belt Trail. Some claim that miners who perished in accidents, whether in vents, dynamite blasts, or falls from treacherous heights, never truly left. Their spirits linger, bound to the places where their labor and lives were spent. Occasionally, hikers report moments when the apparitions appear almost sorrowful, standing near collapsed shafts or ruins, as if guarding their former workplace or mourning companions lost to the harsh realities of mining life. Even for those skeptical of ghosts, the trail possesses an atmosphere that is difficult to ignore. The combination of historic ruins, rugged terrain, and natural acoustics creates experiences that feel profoundly real. Sudden gusts of wind, shifting shadows, or the distant echo of a metallic clink can easily be interpreted as something beyond the ordinary. Many hikers describe leaving the trail with an uneasy sensation, as if they have walked through a living memory that refuses to fade, a place where the past continues to assert its presence. Some hikers have reported physical sensations during their encounters, chills that run up the spine, goosebumps even in summer warmth, or the inexplicable feeling of a presence just behind them. Others describe the odd sense of being followed along the trail, hearing footsteps echoing in time with their own despite being completely alone. These subtle yet persistent interactions create an atmosphere that transforms the trail from a simple scenic loop into an environment rich with historical energy and spectral presence. Despite the eerie experiences, Leadville's Mineral Belt Trail remains a beloved destination. Its combination of natural beauty, historical intrigue, and haunting reputation draws both thrill-seekers and those interested in the supernatural. The trail offers a unique opportunity to walk among the remnants of a laborious past, where the lives of miners echo faintly in the rocks, forests, and abandoned ruins. Visitors are reminded that the land itself carries memory, preserving both the beauty of the mountains and the sorrow of the men who once worked them. For those who venture along the Mineral Belt Trail at twilight or in solitude, the experience is unforgettable. Lanterns in ruins, clinking chains, the scent of smoke and dynamite, and fleeting glimpses of shadowed figures make the past palpably present. The trail serves as both a scenic adventure and a haunting lesson in history, where every step is accompanied by the memory of lives lived and lost amid the unforgiving Colorado mountains. Leadville's Mineral Belt Trail is more than a loop through nature. It is a journey through time, a brush with the spectral echoes of miners who still linger, their stories etched into the landscape. Hikers leave with more than photographs or exercise. They leave with a sense that the trail itself remembers, and that the spirits of the Mineral Belt are still very much alive. The Manitou Incline, perched above Manitou Springs, Colorado, is renowned for its grueling ascent, a near-vertical trail that climbs over 2,000 feet in less than a mile. By day, it challenges fitness enthusiasts and casual hikers alike, drawing people from around the world to test their endurance on the steep railroad-grade path. The trail is lined with remnants of old wooden ties, and the rock face juts sharply from the mountainside, creating a dramatic, awe-inspiring climb. Yet beyond the physical challenge, the incline carries a reputation that is far darker, one whispered among locals and told in uneasy stories. The mountain itself holds spirits, and the climb is not just a test of stamina, but of one's courage in the face of the unseen. Hikers who approach the incline report a sense of tension that begins even before setting foot on the trail. The surrounding pines and jagged rocks seem to watch, and the wind that whistles through the narrow gorge carries odd, almost human-like whispers. Those who begin the climb often speak of an unusual heaviness in the air, a presence that grows more pronounced with every step. Many attribute the feeling to the sheer exertion of the incline. But for those who linger or venture alone, the sensation is unmistakable. Something unseen observes and judges each movement. The top of the incline, where the trail flattens against Pikes Peak, is said to be a particular hotspot for encounters. Hikers describe shadowy figures standing silently at the summit, tall and indistinct, watching anyone who arrives. These figures are often glimpsed in the corner of one's vision, disappearing when turned toward directly. Some hikers have reported moments of intense eye contact, as if the shadows themselves possess awareness, yet when they approach, the figures vanish entirely, leaving only the wind and the distant cries of birds to fill the silence. Voices are another common phenomenon along the incline. Many hikers report hearing calls, sometimes encouragements, other times warnings that seem to come from nowhere. Words like "keep going" or "turn back" float through the air, often in distorted tones or whispered cadence that chills the listener. Some describe the voices as male and authoritative, others as female and mournful, as though the mountain collects the echoes of long-past travelers and miners and repeats them to the living. The voices are rarely loud, but their subtle presence can be profoundly unsettling, especially when combined with the incline's physical strain and isolation. Shadowy forms are not limited to the summit. Along the path itself, hikers have reported glimpses of figures moving along the edge of the trail, sometimes disappearing behind rocks or between trees. The trail's steep embankments and twisted rock formations create an environment in which light and shadow play tricks. But many insist these sightings are more than simple optical illusions. Some witnesses describe feeling a sudden pressure behind them, a sensation of being followed or observed that persists even when they pause or turn around. Others report inexplicable changes in temperature, sudden chills that move with them along the trail, adding to the sense that unseen presences are near. The mountain's history only deepens its haunting reputation. Manitou Springs and the surrounding Pikes Peak region have long been home to stories of Native American spirits, early settlers, and miners who met untimely ends in the area. Some say the incline itself was cursed or imbued with a kind of spiritual test, designed to challenge the living and teach humility or courage. Those who venture alone after dark often speak of an overwhelming sense of the past pressing in, of lives lived and lost echoing in the rocks, the trees, and the air. Night hikers, or those who climb at dusk, are particularly vulnerable to the mountain's unsettling presence. Darkness deepens the shadows, muffles distant sounds, and heightens the awareness of every creak of wood, crunch of gravel, or gust of wind. Many locals avoid the trail after sunset, believing that the mountain is alive in a spectral sense, populated with spirits that test or even warn the living. Reports of hikers becoming disoriented, feeling watched, or experiencing hallucinations are common after dark, and a few who have summited in twilight speak of a surreal, otherworldly quality at the top. Even for daytime climbers, the experiences are not always rational. Some report sudden, inexplicable fatigue that vanishes when they stop to rest, as though an unseen force weighs on them. Others describe seeing figures in reflective puddles or the metallic ties that line the trail, only to find nothing there moments later. Some hikers report hearing footsteps echoing behind them even when no one else is on the trail, a haunting accompaniment to the already punishing climb. Despite these accounts, the Manitou Incline remains a popular destination. The combination of physical challenge, breathtaking views, and the air of mystery draws thousands each year. Many visitors climb without incident, attributing the strange occurrences to imagination or fatigue. Yet those who have experienced the shadows, the voices, or the presence at the summit often leave with a lingering unease, a sense that the mountain is far more than a natural formation. For them, the incline is not just a test of endurance, it is a threshold into the uncanny, a place where the living brush against the echoes of the dead. Manitou Incline is a testament to the dual nature of Colorado's wilderness. spectacular, invigorating, and at times beautiful beyond measure, yet also home to the unseen and unexplained. Its steep grade challenges the body, but the spirits that linger along the trail challenge the mind and soul. Hikers leave with memories of the climb, yes, but also with an impression that the mountain itself has watched, measured, and perhaps even judged their passage. For those who listen closely, the wind may carry whispers, and the shadows may hold forms that are not entirely of this world, ensuring that the Manitou Incline is remembered not just for its physical ascent, but for the spectral presence that quietly guards it. El Dorado Canyon State Park, nestled in the rugged foothills of Colorado, is renowned for its towering cliffs, dramatic rock faces, and breathtaking vistas. By day, it draws climbers and hikers from across the country, eager to test their skills on its sheer walls and winding trails. The sandstone and granite formations, bathed in sunlight, create an almost magical atmosphere. Yet behind the beauty lies a darker side, one whispered about in climbing circles and local lore. Over the years, many have met tragic ends here, and hikers and climbers alike speak of encounters that suggest these spirits have never truly left. The park's trails, weaving through canyons and along steep ridges, often feel alive in a way that goes beyond the natural. Climbers report sudden sensations of being watched, shadows glimpsed in the corner of their vision, and the inexplicable tugging of ropes or harnesses when no one else is near. Some have felt cold drafts descending the cliffs, brushing past them despite clear skies and still air. These disturbances are subtle but unmistakable, leaving a lingering sense that El Dorado's cliffs harbor the memories, and perhaps the unrest, of those who perished here. Many of the hauntings are tied to climbing accidents. The park's vertical terrain is unforgiving, and even experienced climbers have met sudden falls or slips. Locals tell stories of climbers reaching for holds only to feel invisible hands push them back, or ropes pulling taut when nothing is attached. Some have claimed that spectral figures appear along the face of the cliff's transparent shapes, mimicking the motions of climbing, appearing to offer guidance, warning, or perhaps replaying their final moments over and over. The trails themselves are no strangers to eerie encounters. Hikers describe hearing distant shouts or the sound of falling rock when they are alone, only to find no one else on the trail. The echoing nature of the canyon can explain some of these phenomena, but those who experience it insist the sounds are more deliberate, more like warnings than echoes. Footsteps on dirt paths sometimes seem to follow, yet vanish when approached, leaving only the crunch of gravel under one's own boots. Some hikers have reported the sensation of hands brushing against their backs or shoulders while navigating narrow paths, the pressure enough to make them pause and look around, though no one is ever there. Shadows that do not match any figure present, fleeting shapes in the background, or odd glows reflecting off cliff faces have been reported by both amateur and professional photographers. These visual disturbances accompany the auditory and tactile experiences, reinforcing the idea that the canyon holds a presence beyond the living. Many climbers have begun to treat the park with reverence, leaving tokens or pausing in silence to acknowledge the spirits they believe roam the cliffs. Local legend speaks of a climber who fell decades ago, but is said to continue his ascent each night. Witnesses report seeing a figure scaling the cliffs long after sunset, lantern in hand, moving fluidly across impossibly steep faces. At times, the figure appears to pause, as if observing those below, and then slowly disappears into the darkness. Others have told of fleeting glimpses of a woman in climbing gear, her form translucent, climbing with meticulous precision but vanishing before she reaches the summit. These stories, though chilling, have become part of the lore that surrounds El Dorado Canyon, drawing thrill-seekers, ghost hunters, and cautious hikers alike. The sensation of being watched is one of the most common reports. Hikers and climbers alike describe moments when the canyon seems to hold its breath, as though every movement is observed by unseen eyes. The wind can suddenly shift, carrying with it whispers that sound like encouragement, warnings, or mournful cries. Even the animals in the park respond differently to certain areas. Dogs may growl at empty air, and birds sometimes take flight in sudden, inexplicable bursts. These subtle signs convince many that the canyon is not just a collection of rock and trails, but a place imbued with lingering presence. Some encounters are more benign, even guiding. Climbers have reported an unseen hand, steadying a rope, shifting a climbing tool back into place, or helping balance a precarious hold. Others hear whispered instructions or names, often matching climbers who have passed here in history. Whether protective, mischievous, or tragic, the spirits of El Dorado Canyon leave an impression, creating an atmosphere of both awe and unease. The cliffs are breathtaking, but every step is shadowed by the sense that someone or something shares the trail. Despite the chilling stories, El Dorado Canyon remains a beloved destination. Its trails wind through forests and rock faces, offering panoramic views of the surrounding foothills and the Front Range beyond. Many come seeking adventure, photography, or the serenity of nature, and the majority leave without incident. Yet for those attuned to the subtle signs, the whispered warnings, the fleeting shadows, the inexplicable movements, the canyon reveals another layer of existence. It is a place where the boundary between the living and the departed is thin, where tragedy has left an imprint on the very stone and soil, and where the past continues to echo in the present. El Dorado Canyon State Park trails are more than a natural wonder. They are a stage for the lingering stories of those who perished on its cliffs. The wind, the shadows, and the rocks themselves seem to whisper the memories of the fallen. Climbers and hikers who venture here may encounter the unseen hands guiding or warning them, or catch glimpses of those who met their end, yet continue to inhabit the canyon. It is a place of beauty intertwined with sorrow, adventure shadowed by the past, and a reminder that some landscapes never forget. The cliffs may stand timeless, the trails may welcome countless footsteps, but El Dorado Canyon keeps its stories alive. Each hiker who ascends, each climber who scales its faces, becomes part of the canyon's legacy, a living witness to the presence of those who linger, ensuring that the echoes of tragedy, caution, and perhaps even quiet guardianship are never forgotten. Fern Lake Trail in Rocky Mountain National Park is a favorite for hikers seeking the serene beauty of alpine forests, glistening streams, and the shimmering waters of Fern Lake itself. By day, the trail winds through towering pines and aspens, offering glimpses of wildlife and panoramic mountain vistas. But after the sun dips behind the peaks, the atmosphere shifts. Many who venture here after dusk or even near twilight report encounters that are unsettling, inexplicable, and chilling. The park's stunning natural beauty is accompanied by a spectral presence that seems woven into the landscape itself. The trail begins gently, winding past rushing streams and over wooden footbridges. But those who hike later in the day often notice changes in the air. A sudden chill creeps across the path, even in warm weather, and the wind carries strange sounds that are not the calls of birds or rustling of leaves. Hikers report hearing faint cries, sometimes resembling the voice of a lost child, echoing through the trees. The sounds are distant and fleeting, yet hauntingly distinct, leaving the listener frozen in place, as though the forest itself holds its breath. The most commonly reported phenomenon along Fern Lake Trail is the appearance of glowing orbs. Hikers describe small, luminous spheres drifting between the trees, moving in patterns that seem deliberate, almost intelligent. These lights often appear just at the edge of vision, vanishing when one tries to focus on them directly. Some claim that if you follow these lights, they lead you deeper into the forest, away from the main trail, creating the unnerving sensation of being guided or lured by unseen hands. Those who resist the pull often feel a sudden weight on their shoulders, a subtle but unmistakable pressure, as if the forest is nudging them toward the mysterious lights. Visitors report that the orbs often appear near the water, hovering above the lake or gliding across its surface. At times, the reflection of the orbs in the calm water seems distorted, showing figures that do not match the shapes of the lights above. Some hikers have captured photographs showing faint, humanoid shapes beside the orbs, further reinforcing the idea that these lights are more than natural phenomena. They are markers of restless spirits who still wander the park. The cries of children are another recurring element in Fern Lake's haunted lore. Many hikers have reported hearing laughter and sobbing, often intermingled, coming from places where no one is visible. The sounds are especially eerie near dense groves of pine, where the trees seem to amplify the echoes. Some speculate that these voices belong to children who perished during early expeditions or in tragic accidents along the rugged terrain. The sounds are rarely constant, appearing and disappearing unpredictably, leaving those who hear them questioning whether their senses are deceiving them more, whether the forest itself is alive with memory. Nightfall intensifies the unease. The dense canopy casts deep shadows across the trail, and familiar landmarks can seem unfamiliar in the dim light. Hikers recount moments when they feel as though they are being watched, sensing movement just beyond their vision. Shadows appear to shift independently of the trees, and a sudden rustling in the underbrush often produces no visible source. Even the wind seems purposeful, sometimes carrying whispers or distant calls that mimic human voices. Those who have spent hours hiking this trail after dark often describe a feeling of disorientation, as if the forest has expanded and contracted around them, and the trail itself has become a labyrinth. Photographs taken along Fern Lake Trail occasionally capture anomalies. Faint figures appear standing near trees or gliding across the path, sometimes partially transparent, sometimes indistinct shapes illuminated by the moonlight. Camera flashes can trigger sudden movements of these apparitions, or reveal extra reflections in the lake that are not visible to the naked eye. Many hikers insist that the photographs are proof of the trail's haunted reputation, while others remain skeptical, attributing the effects to light, shadows, and trick photography. Nevertheless, the consistency of reports over decades suggests something more than mere imagination. Some hikers recount encounters with figures resembling lost hikers or early explorers. These apparitions appear briefly along the trail, often standing motionless before fading into the forest. They are typically silent, but exude an aura of sadness or longing, as though their stories remain unfinished. Witnesses describe a sense of empathy or melancholy that lingers long after the figures vanish, a feeling that the forest itself carries the memories of all who have passed through it. The combination of spectral lights, disembodied cries, and shadowy figures has led some locals to caution against hiking Fern Lake Trail alone, particularly after dusk. Experienced guides report that even the most skeptical visitors often leave the trail with a lingering sense of unease, recounting experiences they cannot explain. The park's official records note occasional lost hikers and accidents along the route, which some believe contribute to the trail's spiritual imprint. The mix of natural hazards and ghostly encounters creates an environment. Despite its haunted reputation, Fern Lake Trail continues to attract adventurers, seeking both the beauty of Rocky Mountain National Park and the thrill of its mysteries. Hikers come prepared for both physical exertion and the psychological tension of walking a trail steeped in legend. While the lakes, streams, and peaks are undeniably breathtaking, the presence of unseen observers, glowing orbs, shadowy figures, and distant cries reminds every visitor that the forest holds more than natural wonders. Fern Lake Trail is more than a path through the Rockies. It is a corridor where the past lingers, where the energy of lost souls and tragic events continues to ripple through the trees. Each hiker who treads its winding course becomes part of the ongoing story, sharing the space with spirits that are neither entirely friendly nor wholly malevolent. The beauty of the trail is inseparable from its haunting, creating an experience that lingers in memory long after the final step is taken. 4 Mile Historic Park in Denver is celebrated as a living testament to Colorado's pioneer past, offering visitors a glimpse into the lives of the settlers who carved out a life on the frontier. Its reconstructed homesteads, blacksmith shop, and original adobe structures provide a tangible connection to history. Yet, beyond the charm of daily tours and family-friendly activities, the park's trails hold stories that are far less cheerful. Many who walk the paths, especially near dusk, report experiences that suggest the presence of something far older than the reconstructed buildings, whispers from the past that refuse to remain silent. The park's trails wind through groves of cottonwoods and past the remnants of old corrals, following the contours of the land that once sustained oxen and horses. Visitors often report feeling an inexplicable chill along certain stretches, as if the wind itself carries memories. The first signs of unusual activity are subtle. The faint creak of wagon wheels on trails long abandoned, the distant lowing of oxen when no livestock is present, and the occasional echo of voices speaking in a cadence that sounds old-fashioned, almost as if filtered through time. These sounds are fleeting, vanishing when one stops to listen more closely, leaving only an uneasy silence. Some hikers claim to see spectral figures moving along the trails. These are usually brief glimpses: a man in a wide-brimmed hat leading an oxen cart, a woman bending to tend crops, or children playing near the adobe homes, but they are vivid enough to leave lasting impressions, blending with the morning mist or the evening shadows, only to vanish when approached. Witnesses describe a strange sensation of being watched, a persistent awareness that the land remembers those who walked it long ago. The park's history amplifies the eeriness. 4 Mile was a critical stop along early wagon routes, and life here was far from easy. Settlers faced harsh winters, scarce resources, and the constant struggle to maintain their farms and livestock. Some locals believe that the lingering spirits are tied to these hardships, their presence a testament to lives lived in toil and sometimes tragedy. The cries that echo along the trails, mournful yet indistinct, are thought to be the voices of those who labored here and never fully left. Visitors often describe more than auditory experiences. The ground underfoot can feel uneven in ways that defy explanation, and shadows sometimes appear at angles that do not match the trees or structures around them. Some hikers report sudden temperature drops, a biting cold that seems to come from nowhere, followed by the faint scent of smoke or leather remnants, perhaps of campfires, wagons, and harnesses long gone. The combination of sensory, anomalous sound, touch, smell creates a pervasive feeling of presence, as if the past itself is walking alongside the living. Nighttime intensifies the haunting. Those who walk the trails after dark speak of faint lantern lights bobbing along the paths, moving with no visible source. Some claim these lights mimic the movements of settlers returning home, or wagons making their way down the trail. Disembodied whispers carry through the trees, sometimes urgent, sometimes plaintive, often impossible to interpret. Hikers have recounted hearing phrases such as "water s over there" or "Dante stray," repeated over and over, fading before any response can be given. The park's reconstructed homesteads also seem to harbor echoes of the past. Visitors report hearing doors open and close when no one is inside, and the soft clatter of utensils or tools in empty rooms. Occasionally, footsteps are heard across wooden floors, accompanied by the faint smell of old leather and hay. Some have even felt a sudden pressure on their shoulders, like the weight of a settler leaning over to inspect a task, only to find themselves alone. These occurrences are reported sporadically, often by those who spend more time observing or exploring the grounds. Local historians and park staff acknowledge the stories, though they often present them with cautious skepticism. Yet the consistency of reports over decades has built a reputation that cannot be ignored. Many who initially scoff find themselves unsettled by experiences that cannot be easily explained. Even casual visitors walking the trails during daylight have commented on sudden chills, the feeling of unseen eyes, and echoes that seem to follow them from one part of the park to another. The presence of these phenomena adds a layer of historical immersion for those willing to accept it. Walking the trails of 4 Mile Historic Park is not only a step back into pioneer life, it is a step into a space where the past is alive, whispering its stories to anyone who will listen. Hikers often remark on the strange mixture of awe and unease, the realization that the land holds both memory and energy from generations long gone. The trails are not just scenic paths. They are corridors connecting the present to those who walked the same soil under far harsher conditions. Some encounters are more startling than others. Hikers have reported seeing entire wagon trains fading into the early morning mist, oxen plodding silently, and settlers pausing to wave before vanishing entirely. Others have heard the laughter of children playing near the homesteads, voices filled with innocence yet tinged with melancholy, leaving a haunting impression that lingers long after the hike is finished. 4-mile historic park trails are a place where history and haunting intersect. The sound of creaking wheels, the cries of oxen, the whispers of settlers long gone, they are reminders that the past refuses to stay buried. Every step along the paths is a step alongside those who came before, a chance to witness, however fleetingly, the persistence of memory in the landscape. Hikers leave with more than the beauty of Colorado's scenery. They carry the sense that the land itself remembers, that echoes of the past remain, waiting to be seen, heard, and acknowledged. Lake Isabel Trail, nestled within Colorado's San Isabel National Forest, is renowned for its serene beauty, crystal-clear waters, reflecting jagged peaks, dense pines framing the path, and wildlife moving silently through the underbrush. By day, the trail offers peace, a quiet respite from the bustle of city life. Yet hikers and campers have long whispered that beneath its placid surface lies a presence that is far from tranquil. The lake and its surrounding paths are said to hold restless spirits, a lingering echo of tragedy and mystery that refuses to fade. The trail hugs the shoreline, winding through shaded groves and rocky outcroppings, and many visitors first notice something unusual in the air, a heaviness that cannot be explained by weather or terrain. The atmosphere thickens, the wind seems to pause, and an almost tangible tension clings to the trees. Some hikers feel it as a pressure on their chest, as if invisible hands are pushing down, urging them to move cautiously or turn back. At first, it is subtle, barely perceptible, but those who remain along the lake for long periods report that the sensation intensifies, especially near the water's edge. Ghostly figures are among the most commonly reported phenomena. Reflections on the lake sometimes betray shapes that do not belong. Shadowy silhouettes walking just beneath the surface, only visible for a heartbeat before vanishing entirely. Observers describe figures in old-fashioned clothing, frozen in mid-step, their faces indistinct yet hauntingly familiar. Some claim these apparitions are the spirits of early travelers, trappers, or settlers who met untimely deaths along the trail or in the lake itself. Whether victims of accident, misadventure, or something darker, their essence seems to linger, refusing to dissolve into the past. The forest surrounding Lake Isabel adds to the trail's eerie energy. Pine needles carpet the ground, muffling footsteps, yet hikers often report hearing movement around them when no animals are present. Branches sway as if brushed by unseen hands, and soft whispers carry on the wind, indistinct but urgent. Some visitors swear they have heard their names called in the quietest moments, a voice so faint that it could be dismissed as imagination, and it happens again, unmistakable and persistent. Campers who stay overnight have noted the temperature dropping suddenly, even in summer, accompanied by a sense that the forest itself is watching. One of the more chilling accounts involves the water itself. Anglers and photographers along the lake sometimes report seeing shapes walking across the lake's surface, step by step, as though the water has become solid beneath ghostly feet. The figures move slowly, never straying from the center, and vanish if approached too closely. Some hikers have attempted to take photos, only to find the lake appearing entirely normal in the image, with no trace of the figures they just witnessed. The lake seems almost selective in what it allows the living to see, teasing with glimpses that vanish like smoke. Wildlife near the trail also behaves strangely, according to local lore. Birds sometimes freeze mid-flight, staring toward areas where no living creature stands. Fish jump unexpectedly in calm waters, as if startled by unseen forces. Even domestic animals brought on hikes reportedly react with unease, growling or refusing to approach certain parts of the shoreline. These reactions reinforce the feeling that the spirits of Lake Isabel are aware of intruders, and that the lake's energy is not entirely benign. The trail has also been linked to historical tragedies. Early accounts speak of a cabin that once stood near the northern edge of the lake, occupied by a family who disappeared without explanation. Hunters and campers have occasionally found remnants of old belongings, decaying and worn by decades, hinting at lives interrupted. Some researchers and paranormal enthusiasts suggest these stories are connected to the apparitions and strange occurrences, with the lake serving as a resting place for souls unable or unwilling to move on. The history and the haunting seem intertwined, each reinforcing the other. Visitors who linger too long along Lake Isabel Trail often describe a disorienting effect. Paths seem longer, trees more densely packed, and landmarks harder to recognize. Shadows stretch unnaturally, and the reflection of the sun off the water can appear distorted, forming shapes that are fleeting yet unmistakably human. Even experienced hikers note a creeping sense of unease, a suspicion that every movement is being observed by unseen eyes. Many who experience these phenomena describe them as bittersweet, frightening, yes, but also oddly captivating. The trail's popularity has not diminished its reputation. Those seeking a traditional hike enjoy the scenery and wildlife, while others come specifically hoping to witness something unexplainable. Ranger stations sometimes receive reports of ghostly lights dancing across the water or voices echoing through the trees. Local lore maintains that the spirits are neither entirely friendly nor malicious. They are remnants of lives long past, frozen in moments of sorrow, curiosity, or unfinished business. Visitors are advised to respect the trail, move quietly, and observe without disturbance, lest they invite attention from those who still linger. Lake Isabel Trail, serene by day yet haunting by dusk, exemplifies the thin line between beauty and unease in Colorado's high country. The placid waters, dense forest, and alpine air conceal layers of history and mystery that few fully comprehend. For hikers who walk its paths, the lake is more than just a destination. It's a space where the living and the dead brush against one another, where reflections can be deceptive, and where every step may echo with memories not entirely your own. The ghostly figures, the whispered voices, and the sudden drops in temperature serve as reminders that Lake Isabel is not merely a scenic hike. It is a living archive of the past, a place where spirits linger, watching and sometimes interacting with those who venture too close. To walk this trail is to engage with history, tragedy, and the unexplainable, leaving visitors with a story that will haunt them long after they return to solid ground. The Pikes Peak Trail, winding from the base of Manitou Springs up to the towering summit of one of Colorado's most iconic mountains, is celebrated for its breathtaking vistas, alpine meadows, and the challenge it presents to hikers of all skill levels. By day, it is alive with the sounds of birds, the crunch of boots on gravel, and the crisp mountain air. Yet beneath this natural beauty, a darker presence has long been whispered about by locals and visitors alike. The trail is said to be haunted, its dense forests and rocky inclines hiding the restless spirits of those who perished in the unforgiving terrain, or never truly left the mountain behind. From the moment hikers begin their ascent, an unsettling sensation can grip the sense that the mountain itself is alive, watching, aware of every step. Shadowy figures are the most common report, glimpses caught from the corner of the eye, darting between trees, disappearing when directly looked at. Some hikers swear these figures resemble long-dead travelers, dressed in period clothing, carrying packs or tools. Others appear almost spectral, formless and shifting, moving in ways that defy natural human motion. The higher one climbs, the more persistent the presence seems to become, almost as if the spirits are drawn to the summit, unwilling to leave the mountain that was once both home and obstacle in life. The history of Pikes Peak contributes to its eerie energy. Long before it became a tourist destination, the mountain was a sacred site for indigenous peoples, revered and feared in equal measure. Later, prospectors, miners, and settlers braved its slopes, many succumbing to falls, avalanches, or sudden storms. Travelers lost along the trail are said to have left imprints not just in the earth, but in the very air and atmosphere of the mountain. These echoes of tragedy linger, and those who walk the trail sometimes feel the weight of countless unseen eyes upon them. a spectral audience observing every movement. Some hikers have reported hearing sounds that cannot be explained. The distinct chugging of a steam engine, reminiscent of the historic Pikes Peak Cog Railway, is often heard even when the tracks are empty and no train runs at that hour. The rhythmic sound grows louder and closer with each step, only to vanish when approached, leaving only the mountain wind and the distant call of birds. Others describe disembodied voices carried by the breeze, murmuring warnings or distant conversations in languages long forgotten. These auditory phenomena, combined with fleeting visual glimpses, create a deeply unsettling experience that many hikers cannot shake, even after returning home. Campers along the trail speak of cold spots appearing suddenly, drops in temperature that feel unnatural at high altitude. Tents left unattended at night have been reported to sway, as though brushed by invisible hands, and belongings sometimes shift inexplicably. Some hikers awake to find footprints in the dirt around their camp, though they are alone, and the prints often vanish without trace by morning. The presence on Pikes Peak is described as patient and observant, sometimes playful, occasionally ominous, but rarely violent. Its manifestations are subtle yet persistent, a reminder that the mountain holds its memories tightly. The flora and fauna of the trail seem to respond to this energy. Birds pause mid-flight, their cries carrying longer than expected. Small animals freeze as hikers pass, staring toward empty spaces where nothing moves. Even the wind seems to behave strangely, whispering through pine needles with a cadence that can resemble soft speech. These natural interactions reinforce the sense that Pikes Peak is more than a physical challenge. It is a threshold where the living brush against echoes of the past, where nature itself participates in the haunting. Stories of specific encounters add to the trail's chilling reputation. Hikers recount passing fellow travelers, only to realize the person is gone the moment attention is given. Others describe reaching overlooks to find shadowy figures standing near the edge, staring out over the mountain valley before vanishing. These encounters are fleeting yet impactful, leaving a lasting impression on those who witness them. Some even report sensations of being guided or warned by unseen forces, an intuition that determines whether to continue the climb or descend before reaching the summit. The summit itself is a focal point of both awe and unease. While the panoramic views of the Rockies inspire wonder, some visitors feel an oppressive weight at the top, as if the mountain's long history presses down upon them. Shadowy shapes have been reported moving along the edges of the summit, particularly during dawn and dusk. The wind carries faint whispers that seem to emanate from the cliffs themselves, and hikers often experience a heightened sense of awareness, a feeling that the very mountain is alive and cognizant of those who dare reach its peak. Pikes Peak Trail is not just a path for hikers. It is a living monument to history, tragedy, and the unknown. Those who traverse it encounter not only natural beauty, but also a lingering presence that defies explanation. Whether the apparitions are spirits of lost travelers, echoes of indigenous rituals, or remnants of historical activity, their effects are undeniable. Hikers leave with stories that blend fear, wonder, and respect, carrying the mountain's memory with them long after they descend. In the shadow of Pikes Peak, the living and the dead intersect. Each step along the trail may bring glimpses of figures long gone, sounds of engines that no longer run, and sensations that remind climbers that some mountains remember. The trail challenges the body, tests the mind, and unsettles the spirit, ensuring that those who attempt the ascent encounter more than just altitude. They encounter history, mystery, and the persistent echo of lives that remain tethered to the mountain they loved, feared, and ultimately could not leave behind. The Silver Hills Ghost Town Hike in Park County, Colorado, is a trail steeped in both history and mystery. Nestled high in the mountains, the path winds through rugged terrain, old mining roads, and dense pine forests before reaching the abandoned town of Silver Hills. Once a bustling hub during the silver mining boom, the town thrived with miners, saloons, and families eking out a living in the harsh Colorado wilderness. But those days are long gone. Today, only crumbling foundations, rusted tools, and the faint outlines of buildings remained in. Yet, many hikers report that Silver Hills has never truly been empty. Local legend centers on a woman known only as Silver, a nurse and dancer who tended to the miners during a devastating smallpox epidemic in the late 1800s. Accounts describe her as graceful and kind, always moving between tents and cabins with a comforting presence, offering care to the sick when others fled in fear. Despite her tireless efforts, the epidemic claimed countless lives, and Silver Hills herself mysteriously vanished one night. Some say she was claimed by the disease. Others believe she disappeared under circumstances too strange to be recorded. Whatever the truth, hikers and locals alike insist that her spirit remains bound to the town. Wandering among the ruins she once cared for so devotedly, the hike to Silver Hills Ghost Town is a study in contrasts. By day, the trail is beautiful, with wildflowers carpeting the slopes, streams trickling alongside the path, and panoramic views of surrounding peaks. Yet, hikers frequently report an unsettling shift as they approach the town. The air grows heavier, cooler than the surrounding forest, and a faint feeling of being observed creeps over visitors. Shadows seem to stretch longer than natural light would allow, and the forest grows eerily quiet, as if the mountain itself is holding its breath. Upon reaching the remains of Silver Hills, the experience becomes more pronounced. The skeletal outlines of cabins, the remnants of the general store, and the rusting mining equipment all seem to pulse with an energy that defies explanation. Many hikers have reported seeing a faint figure moving among the ruins, a woman in a flowing dress, her features often blurred or shifting, as if caught between this world and the next. Some believe this is Silver Hills herself, forever wandering the town she tended to, both mourning the lives lost and protecting the memory of the town's former residents. Visitors often hear other, subtler signs of her presence. The distant hum of music that seems to emanate from nowhere, and the gentle rustle of fabric in an empty room have all been documented. Hikers describe an almost tangible feeling of guidance, as if the spirit is watching their steps, ensuring that they respect the town as history, while also subtly warning them of the dangers of the terrain. Rocks that seem loose or hidden pits on the trail are avoided almost instinctively, prompting some to wonder whether the protective presence of Silver Hills extends even beyond the town's borders. Many hikers also report auditory phenomena. Whispers, often indistinct but sometimes calling names or offering encouragement, echo between the ruins. Others have described laughter, a fleeting, melancholic sound that quickly fades into the wind. These encounters are rarely malevolent. Instead, they carry a sense of sorrow and nostalgia, a haunting reminder of the lives lost and the hardships endured during the town's brief but vibrant history. For some, the experience is unsettling but deeply moving, a bridge across time that connects the present to the struggles and spirit of Silver Hills' past. Photographs taken at the site often add another layer of mystery. Visitors frequently capture orbs of light hovering above ruined foundations, or faint silhouettes in the background that vanish when they approach. Some images show streaks resembling flowing fabric, leading many to conclude that these are manifestations of Silver Hills herself. Skeptics may attribute these phenomena to lens flare or natural light conditions. Yet, the consistency of reports over decades has cemented Silver Hills Ghost Town as a legendary haunted hike in Colorado. The trail itself holds remnants of the miners' life's rusted pickaxes, broken lanterns, and crumbling foundations, but the presence of Silver Hills transforms the landscape from mere ruins into a living memory. Hikers often find themselves pausing, almost reverently, feeling the weight of history pressing down on the trail. The mountain, the town, and the spirit of Silver Hills all combine to create an atmosphere thick with both beauty and melancholy, where the living are allowed to walk alongside echoes of the past. Even after leaving Silver Hills, hikers report lingering effects. Some feel an inexplicable sadness, as if carrying the grief and endurance of the town with them. Others sense a quiet reassurance, a feeling that Silver Hills has acknowledged their passage and continues to watch over those who respect her domain. Stories of repeat visits are common, with hikers returning season after season, drawn not only by the challenge of the trail, but by the subtle, protective presence that seems to linger just out of sight. The Silver Hills Ghost Town hike is more than a trek through the mountains. It is a journey into the past, a living memorial to a vanished community, and an encounter with a spirit whose compassion transcends death. While hikers may set out seeking adventure or solitude, many find themselves touched by something far older, wiser, and profoundly human. The spectral figure of Silver Hills, seen or unseen, transforms a simple hike into an experience where history, tragedy, and the supernatural converge, leaving a lasting impression on every visitor. In every whisper of wind through the ruins, in every soft footfall on broken floors, and in every fleeting glimpse of a figure in flowing dress, Silver Hills endures. Her presence reminds hikers that the mountain, the trail, and the ghost town itself hold stories that demand to be remembered. She is a protector, a mourner, and a guide watching silently from the shadows, keeping the memory of the town and its people alive for those brave enough to follow the path. Mount Falcon, nestled near Morrison, Colorado, is renowned for its breathtaking views, sprawling trails, and the ruins of a grand castle built in the early 20th century. Visitors to Mount Falcon trails often speak of experiences that go far beyond natural beauty, describing encounters with ghostly figures, unexplained sounds, and a sense that the area is alive with spirits from the past. The castle ruins themselves are the centerpiece of the haunting. Built with ambition and elegance, the stone structure was never fully completed, leaving walls and foundations exposed to the elements. These ruins now act as both a historical curiosity and a focal point for the paranormal. Hikers report seeing shadowy figures moving among the walls, sometimes glimpsed from the corner of the eye, only to vanish when approached. Some claim these are the spirits of workers or the original builders, bound to the site by unfinished business, their presence lingering in the cold stone corridors and weathered archways. Visitors frequently describe auditory phenomena that defy explanation. Soft, indistinct music seems to drift through the trees, sometimes reminiscent of piano notes or faint orchestral strains. The sounds appear to have no origin, yet they echo in a way that makes hikers feel as if they are intruding on a private concert from another time. Others hear whispers among the ruins, snatches of conversation, laughter, or sighs that vanish the moment one turns to investigate. Many describe a growing unease as they explore, a feeling that unseen eyes are following their movements, watching every step from hidden vantage points among the stonework. The trails surrounding Mount Falcon amplify the unsettling atmosphere. By day, the paths wind through dense forest, wildflowers, and open meadows. By night, however, the experience shifts dramatically. Hikers report orbs of light floating between the trees, sometimes moving with apparent intention, as though guiding or warning travelers along the trail. The forest seems to close in, shadows elongating and twisting in ways that defy logic. Footsteps echo behind visitors, even when the trail is empty, and many have sworn that a presence follows them from the ruins back to the parking lot. A spectral companion, invisible to the eye, but tangible in the sensation of being watched. The origin of these hauntings is often linked to the history of the site. Before the castle's construction, Mount Falcon was privately owned and heavily forested, with early settlers and travelers crossing its terrain. Some believe that spirits from earlier eras pioneers, laborers, or perhaps even lost wanderers remain tethered to the land, their energy intensified by the incomplete nature of the ruins. The combination of history, isolation, and unfinished ambition creates a powerful atmosphere where the living and the dead seem to coexist in uneasy proximity. Faint silhouettes in the trees, or misty figures appearing where no one stands. Some hikers report shadows and images that move between shots, suggesting a presence that exists outside of normal time. While skeptics may attribute these occurrences to light reflection, camera artifacts, or imagination, the consistency and frequency of reports have cemented Mount Falcon trails as a hotspot for paranormal activity in Colorado. The ruins themselves seem to act as a magnet for spectral phenomena, Walkers near the castle report the sensation of being touched lightly on the shoulder or feeling a cold breeze pass by suddenly in enclosed areas. Occasionally, unexplained voices call out from the stonework, names, laughter, or fragmented sentences that disappear as quickly as they appear. Visitors often report an uneasy compulsion to leave after dark, as if the very stones are guiding them away once the sun sets. Yet, for those who remain, the experience is unforgettable, a mix of awe at the historic ruins and fear at the supernatural presence that seems to permeate the air. The surrounding forest contributes to the haunting in subtle ways. Wind rushing through the trees can carry faint echoes that sound like conversation. The rustling of leaves, often unnoticed in daylight, becomes a chorus of whispers at dusk. Hikers have described fleeting glimpses of figures moving between trunks, only to vanish the instant they are looked at directly. Even the wildlife seems aware of the unusual energy. Animals often react nervously along the trail, their sudden movements adding to the sense of unseen observers. Even during daytime hikes, Mount Falcon Trails retains its eerie charm. Many report feeling an inexplicable heaviness in the air near the castle ruins or along secluded stretches of the trail. The sensation is often described as a presence pressing subtly on the shoulders, a silent reminder that the land is shared with entities unseen. Footsteps echo unnaturally, shadows move in counterintuitive ways, and the atmosphere thickens with a sense of history that is as tangible as the stone and trees themselves. For those drawn to the paranormal, Mount Falcon offers a unique and immersive experience. The combination of historic ruins, dense forest trails, and consistent reports of ghostly activity creates a landscape where the past and present converge. They carry a sense of having witnessed something timeless, something that exists beyond ordinary perception, a lingering energy that cannot be dismissed. Mount Falcon Trails exemplifies the intersection of natural beauty and supernatural intrigue. Here, the majestic ruins and the forested trails are more than just scenery. They are the stages for encounters that defy rational explanation. Shadowy figures, unexplained music, drifting orbs, and the sensation of being followed create an environment where history and mystery coexist. The trails invite exploration, but they also demand respect, as the spirits of Mount Falcon remain attentive, watching silently from the stones, trees, and shadows. The Mount Falcon Trails are not simply a hiking destination. They are a journey into a space where the living and the dead intersect. The castle ruins, the forested paths, and the inexplicable phenomena make every step along the trail a reminder that some stories are never truly finished, and some presences never truly leave. Hikers who venture here walk through history and hauntings alike, carrying with them the memory of a place where beauty, mystery, and the supernatural converge. The Black Forest, just northeast of Colorado Springs, is a dense expanse of pines and firs that stretches for miles, seemingly untouched by time. By day, it is a haven for hikers, birdwatchers, and nature enthusiasts, offering quiet trails, moss-covered logs, and the soothing scent of pine resin. Yet beneath the beauty of this serene forest lies an unsettling reputation. The Black Forest has long been a hotspot for paranormal activity, drawing both thrill-seekers and investigators, hoping to encounter the unexplained. Visitors often speak of strange lights hovering between the trees, shadowy figures moving silently in the undergrowth, and an overwhelming sense of being watched phenomena that seem to intensify as the sun dips below the horizon. Many hikers report feeling an inexplicable dread upon entering the forest. The sensation often begins as a subtle unease, a weight on the chest or a prickling at the back of the neck, but it can escalate quickly. Some describe a sudden nausea, dizziness, or a disorienting feeling that time has shifted, with minutes stretching into hours or vanishing entirely. Trails that are familiar by day can feel maze-like and alien as the forest's shadows deepen, leaving hikers to wonder if they are truly alone or if something unseen is observing their every move. One of the most common experiences reported in the Black Forest is the appearance of strange lights. These are often described as small orbs of bluish or greenish luminescence that hover between the trees, moving in ways that defy the wind or gravity. Some witnesses claim the lights follow them along the trails, disappearing when approached or dispersing suddenly into the canopy. Others have seen larger, more defined lights, seemingly solid, drifting silently above the treetops before vanishing into the night sky. These phenomena have led many to believe the forest is a thin place, a location where the veil between worlds is weakened and spirits or other entities can pass through with ease. Shadow figures are another frequent occurrence. Hikers report glimpsing dark, humanoid shapes slipping between the trees or appearing briefly in their peripheral vision, only to vanish when they turn their heads. These figures are rarely threatening in appearance, but the mere knowledge of being watched can create a deep sense of vulnerability. Some describe seeing these shadows in groups, almost as if a congregation is silently observing intruders in their domain. Others have experienced the unnerving feeling of being followed along the trails, the sound of faint footsteps echoing behind them, even when the path is empty. Time distortion is a phenomenon that adds to the Black Forest's eerie reputation. Many visitors recount losing track of time, stepping onto a trail in broad daylight, only to find that hours have passed with no memory of the walk itself. Watches and phones often malfunction inexplicably, draining batteries unusually fast or failing to display accurate time. Some hikers describe sudden sleepiness or disorientation, as if the forest is exerting a subtle influence on the human mind. These occurrences often heighten the sense that the forest exists on its own terms, with rules that defy the normal world. UFO sightings have also become part of the Black Forest lore. Numerous reports describe glowing objects in the sky, some hovering silently for minutes, others darting rapidly between the trees. Witnesses claim the lights exhibit patterns of movement that no aircraft could replicate, leading to speculation that the forest serves as a nexus for phenomena beyond human comprehension. Hikers who have encountered these aerial displays often report a lingering sense of awe and fear, as if they have glimpsed a realm far removed from ordinary experience. Natural explanations for these events, such as bioluminescent insects, mist, or atmospheric reflections, fail to account for the consistency and intensity of reports. Whether it is the shadow figures, the time distortions, or the enigmatic lights, the Black Forest has a reputation that draws visitors seeking both adventure and the paranormal. For some, the experience is thrilling, a brush with the unknown that adds excitement to an otherwise ordinary hike. For others, it is terrifying, a reminder that some places harbor energies that the living cannot fully understand. The forest itself seems to amplify these experiences. Its dense canopy and uneven terrain create pockets of darkness and silence where sounds and shapes can be misinterpreted or enhanced. Wind rushing through the pines can mimic footsteps or whispers, and the thick foliage can cast shadows that appear humanoid. Yet even when natural explanations are considered, the sheer number of accounts spanning decades gives the Black Forest an aura that transcends rational understanding. Whether it is the result of restless spirits, otherworldly entities, or some unknown natural phenomenon, hikers leave the area with stories that rarely fade. Encounters with other hikers can also be strange. Sometimes, solitary hikers report meeting people along the trail who vanish without explanation, only to find no signs that anyone else was present. Others recount brief exchanges with fellow adventurers who seem oddly familiar or out of place, adding to the sense that reality itself is shifting within the forest. These experiences contribute to the Black Forest's reputation as a place where the ordinary rules of life are suspended, replaced by something older, stranger, and more powerful. Despite the fear it can inspire, the Black Forest continues to draw visitors, intrigued by the mysteries hidden among its pines. For many, the combination of natural beauty and supernatural activity creates a compelling destination, a place where the living can walk alongside echoes of the unknown. The trails invite exploration, but they also demand respect, as the forest holds secrets that few ever fully uncover. The Black Forest trails near Colorado Springs are more than just paths through the wilderness. They are gateways into a landscape where history, nature, and the unexplained intersect. Hikers who venture here walk through an environment charged with energy, encountering lights, shadows, and sensations that defy explanation. The forest is alive, not only with wildlife, but with the persistent presence of forces unseen, testing courage, intuition, and perception. Those who enter the Black Forest do so with the knowledge that the woods are beautiful, terrifying, and unforgettable all at once. The maroon bells, rising majestically above the aspen landscape, are some of the most photographed mountains in Colorado. Their jagged peaks, mirrored in the pristine waters of Maroon Lake, attract hikers, climbers, and photographers from around the world. But behind the breathtaking beauty lies a darker story. Locals and frequent visitors whisper of the deadly bells, a nickname earned not for their aesthetic charm, but for the many climbers and hikers who have perished on their steep, unforgiving slopes. For decades, tales have circulated of strange apparitions, eerie cries, and unexplained phenomena along the trails leading up to these peaks, lending the area a haunting aura that contrasts sharply with its natural splendor. The trails surrounding the Maroon Bells, while well-trodden, are notorious for their difficulty. Loose rock, sudden weather changes, and sheer drops make them treacherous even for experienced climbers. It is along these very paths that hikers report the first signs of supernatural activity. Some describe glimpsing figures in climbing gear, moving along ledges or slopes where no one could possibly be. These figures often appear only in the corner of one's eye, vanishing when directly observed, leaving behind nothing but the faintest impression of their presence. Experienced mountaineers insist these are not hallucinations, but the lingering spirits of those who met their end on the mountains, forever repeating the climbs they could never complete in life. Echoing cries are another common phenomenon. Hikers speak of sudden wails or shouts carried across the valleys, sounding remarkably human, yet impossible to locate. The winds through the Maroon Bells can carry sounds over long distances, but many insist the cries are more than echoes. They are pleas, warnings, or the sorrowful laments of lost climbers. Some visitors report hearing the sounds of climbing ropes snapping, metal carabiners clinking, or heavy boots striking stone, even when they are entirely alone on the trail. These auditory experiences often come with sudden drops in temperature, causing shivers and goosebumps, reinforcing the feeling that the mountains themselves are alive with the memories of the dead. Photographers and hikers also recount unexplained visual phenomena. Shadows appear in locations where no one is present, sometimes against a backdrop of snow or rock faces, moving as if guided by an unseen hand. A camera may capture a translucent figure stepping from one ledge to another, or faint, ghostly silhouettes framed by the peaks at sunrise or sunset. Even when the trails are bustling with tourists, some report moments when the figures appear intimately close, as though separated from the living by an invisible veil. These manifestations are fleeting, subtle, and profoundly unsettling, leaving witnesses questioning what is real and what is an imprint of the mountain's tragic history. Local legend provides context for these hauntings. The Maroon Bells region has claimed countless lives over the past century, from climbers unprepared for sudden storms to hikers lost in the maze of ridges and gullies. Avalanches, rockslides, and hypothermia have claimed many, their bodies sometimes found years later, and others never recovered at all. Families and fellow climbers began to report unusual occurrences near the sites where accidents occurred. Gear left behind would be found rearranged. Footsteps would appear in fresh snow, and some even claimed to see shadowy figures tending to invisible ropes or guiding others along treacherous paths. The pattern suggested that these were not random hauntings, but the lingering presence of souls, tethered to the trails by unfinished business or sudden, tragic ends. Night hikers have a different set of experiences altogether. As darkness falls, the Maroon Bells take on a more ominous presence. The stars are brilliant, yet the air feels heavy, as if charged with unseen energy. Those who hike the trails after sunset report feeling watched, and the already quiet forested areas seem to resonate with whispers. Occasional flashlights catch movements in the shadows, fleeting glimmers of climbing harnesses, or figures silhouetted against rocky outcroppings. Some hikers describe a sensation of being guided, or even pushed, along the safest path by a presence they cannot see. Others experience sudden fear, as though the mountains are testing their resolve, ensuring that the living respect the power and danger of the terrain. Even at Maroon Lake, at the base of the peaks, the supernatural seems to linger. On foggy mornings, visitors have seen figures emerging from the mist along the trails, climbing gear dangling from their shoulders, only to vanish as the fog shifts. The reflections in the lake sometimes reveal shadows not present on the shore, or glimpses of climbers frozen mid-step on trails that are otherwise empty. Some photographers have captured spectral images that defy explanation: translucent figures scaling steep rock faces, or ghostly hands reaching toward impossible ledges, preserving the memory of tragedies that the living cannot witness directly. While the Maroon Bells continue to draw visitors for their unparalleled beauty, these haunted tales are woven into the very identity of the mountains. Hikers, climbers, and photographers are drawn not only to the visual spectacle, but to the thrill of walking among the echoes of the past. The mountains serve as both a natural wonder and a silent memorial, reminding those who traverse their trails that beauty and danger often coexist, and that the memories of those who never returned are woven into every ridge, rock, and shadow. Ultimately, the Maroon Bells trails embody the tension between awe and fear, the living and the dead. Each hike carries the possibility of encountering more than breathtaking views. There is the chance, however fleeting, of glimpsing a figure frozen in time, hearing a cry from decades past, or feeling the subtle presence of those who never made it home. For those who venture here, the experience is both humbling and chilling, a reminder that the mountains, like memory, hold on to their histories long after the climbers are gone. In Aspen, the Maroon Bells are not just peaks to be admired. They are silent sentinels, preserving the echoes of tragedy, the whispers of the lost, and the haunting beauty of the mountains themselves. Colorado's mountains are alive with stories. Every trail carries echoes of footsteps that never came back, voices that never silenced, and memories carved into stone and snow. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, one thing is certain: when you hike these paths, you walk not just through wilderness, but through history. So the next time you set foot on a trail in Colorado, listen closely, feel the air shift, notice the shadows. You may hear the faint crunch of footsteps behind you, or the whisper of a voice carried on the wind. And remember, on these haunted hikes, you are never truly alone.